Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast number 142. I'm your host, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, along with my good buddy here, Johnny V.
Nice to have you back. It's been a time.
As the kids, I think, still say, it's been a minute.
Been a minute.
Been a minute. Can I tell you how much I hate that saying? I've hated it from day one.
Been a minute. You hate it?
Yeah. I think it's dying, so that's why I love to throw it out there now. I'm pretty sure it's on its way back out, but
I don't know.
In general, I never like that phrasing.
Okay. I've got no feelings one way or the other. When you're that age, I had to explain to my son how, 3 months of his life is, like a huge portion when you're 7 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
It feels summer. He's like, summer felt like it was taking forever for him. And I was like, summer feels like it's there and gone, because when you're, 39, that's a lot tinier sliver of your whole life.
It's about percentages.
Yeah. He didn't quite understand it, but it's been a minute.
Yeah, it has. So welcome everyone again. We're here for 142. I was thinking earlier today, a quick recap. I don't know how many new viewers we're still getting on the regular, but a real quick recap of our shows goes something along these lines. More often than not, the first 20 to 30 minutes are dedicated to having our pal Dana Vici. He comes in, gives us some event recaps, not necessarily of just the event that just took place where maybe we were visiting or covering, but events that are going on around the country, around the globe. Most frequently, those are your largest scale events we like to tap into and take a look at, maybe any oddities or things that come up, and send out a few congratulations here and there. We've gotten away from, as they would say, it's been a minute, but we've gotten away from giving any SmashBoxxTV big hugs. Those usually went to someone that suffered a big break or possibly finished one stroke out of the cash in a competitive field. But that's usually what Dana brings to the show. It doesn't sound like we're going to have Dana. I think he's a little under the weather this week, so he's not going to be joining us. But then we get to what most frequently is referred to as a featured guest, a main guest, or a headliner, I guess would be a way to put it, or just could be any guest. But we get to a guest. After them, we sometimes have another guest, or maybe we go to a few other segments. We also usually have Paul Uliberry give us Paul's picks, or Yuli's picks, as I guess we've officially called them. And we talk a little bit about fantasy disc golf, skipace.com, and recap what's been taking place there. Then we babble about some other random things. We cut the show, and then immediately following that, we lead back, or we come back with what's called an after show, where disc golf is kind of taken off the table, or it's not necessarily the main focal point. It could be, but sometimes it's not. And then we get into other random topics, and we do a ton more interaction with you on our YouTube live webpage. So if you're watching on YouTube, that's where you can interact the easiest with us. If we're having a competition or a contest, it almost always is going to take place right there on the YouTube chat board. So, and then 2, 3, 4 hours later, whenever it all is, Johnny V cuts it all up. He will put out the two different pieces. Usually it will be the regular show, and then the after show, he'll put those out in an audio-only version. And what will also be happening is, in the background, YouTube will be archiving the entire 2 or 3 or 4 hour segment, and usually by the next morning, all of it is up in its entirety, so you can always replay it and watch it on YouTube if you'd like. Or if you are a Patreon subscriber, it will be already in your podcast inbox by the next morning. And if you're not a Patreon subscriber, that's cool too. You can continue listening with no obligations. It just it takes a few more days for it to roll out into your podcast subscription. So is that a pretty good overview?
It's a great overview, Terry.
I feel like it's been a while. So if anyone is unsure of the format or what takes place or how things go down, that's pretty much what happens. It's every Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Central. And if you think we go too long,
you're probably right.
You're definitely right. If you, I got a few more people in the last week, though, that said, I'd take more. If you guys could give us more time, I'd take it.
I'm trying. I honestly am. I'm trying to work out times. I was telling my wife, because even my wife bothered me today. She's like, are you doing any more of those like game show ones? And I was like, yes, like I really want to do them. I'm like, I need to nail Terry down. I said, if I can't nail him down, I'm going to do him without him. But yeah, so we're trying to work on more content. We always want to give you guys new stuff and do what we can. So one of the new things, actually, that I read about just today, if you go to youtube.com/new, N-E-W, you can actually, maybe I can bring this up, actually.
Try out a fresh look for YouTube.
It's a new updated look.
Oh, I'm going to do this too. Keep talking.
And you can click on your icon in the upper right-hand corner, and you can select a new dark mode. Dark mode. It's off by default. That gives it a black screen. It's kind of like the gaming. I don't know if it really makes much of a difference.
Just a different look.
It's just a different look. This is their new kind of layout that they're doing, and so we'll see how it goes. I like the gaming one because of the chat on the side. So I don't know if it really makes much of a difference in general. If it's only for if it hasn't rolled out to live yet, I don't know. I just know that it's out there. So
sounds like some people are enjoying it, and by all means, go out there, play around with it. Of course, we encourage you guys to watch us, whether it be on Facebook or Twitch or any other platform. We were just saying before the show, in the future, it would make sense for me to go ahead and create. We do have a SmashBoxxTV Instagram account, which I don't use too often, but possibly just for giggles, go ahead and put it up on Instagram and let that roll each week as well. That might be another way for people to come in and find us or whatever. So we're trying to get it out there as much as we can. We're glad you're here for us tonight. Alex, I think, said, first time, thanks for the rundown. So you're very welcome, Alex. I was thinking we may have a few first-time new people here tonight.
Paul usually brings in a few newbies.
As he should.
Yeah.
That McBeth guy. So, gosh, where do we even start tonight? We don't have Dana running down any of the specifics in terms of other events. Did you have any other events before we get into Glass Blown Open conversation?
Well, I'm looking at the list of PDG events from this past weekend, and, I mean, there's like 30 Glass Blown events, so I'm going to try to scroll past those. There were a few B tiers. It doesn't look like there was really anything big this week.
It's a tough weekend to compete with.
If you're within about 200 to 500 miles of GBO, you're not getting a person there except for maybe some local AMs. So there really isn't a lot going on. We did have a local event here in Wisconsin, which is usually a pretty big event. It tends to draw in a lot of Minnesota crowd, Wisconsin, Illinois. It's the Standing Rocks Open. It's a 2-day B tier. You and I had attended that for 10, 12 years, something like that. Winning that was Mr. Ben Kroll, who's an up-and-coming pro player out of Minnesota. And he's Delano, Minnesota, I believe, or Delano. He ended up shooting 25 under par. He racked up 1,003, 1,007, and 1,044 rated round. Followed up by Jason Blake, CJ King, the young wonder, Adam Hamies. Is that pronounced? Hamies. And David, as you call him, MV Heasley?
MV Heasley.
David Heasley, who's an Illinois guy.
I believe he was last year's champion, now that I think about it.
He was last year's champion at Standing Rock. So that is your open field. If you want to go to open women, taking down it, Miss Invisible herself, Holly Finley, someone who was big on the scene and still kind of is, but hasn't really traveled outside of the Midwest much over the past year and a half or so, other than one or two events.
Yeah, she really hit it hard in her amateur days, which were short, and then in her early professional career, and now I think she's taking on more of a even an office-type position career role. So we haven't seen her traveling around the country like we used to, but usually she has a very stiff competitor, and it was this weekend as well in Barrett White. But Barrett, she ultimately got the best of Barrett, and she took down the 5-woman field taking place up at Standing Rocks.
Yeah, Barrett is a very solid pro woman player, sponsored by Discraft. Yeah, I just want to make sure before I spit it out, but I was 99% sure. Barrett's well known for drawing Mickey Mouse on most of her
everything.
discs. Yeah. So if you ever find a disc with Mickey Mouse on it, at one point it was probably Barrett White's. But Holly Finley shot an 850 rated round, followed up by a 965 rated round, which is about 55 points higher than her rating, and a 911 rated round. So congratulations, Holly Finley. Taking down the Masters field was local Mark the Shark, followed up by our good friend Stephen Held, and one of our good friends from when we grew up, John Turlap. So that was the Standing Rocks Open. It always gets a pretty big field. There were 52 open players, 36 masters, 5 women, so total of 210 players. So
yeah, very
one
huge.
of the larger B tiers in the Midwest.
Certainly is, and a great place up in the central part of Wisconsin, north central part of Wisconsin. So if you ever get a chance, make sure you go up and play some of the great courses up in that area, Stevens Point area of Wisconsin. So solid event, and again, you usually see a Kale Laviska,
Correct.
And those types that are there playing. And this year, of course, with the direct conflict with GBO, it just wasn't going to happen. But, Kale and some of that, caliber are typically at the event. And this year, Kale he was doing other things.
He was playing very well at GBO. So
certainly.
All right, but he would have got the same amount of rounds. Oh, no, he wouldn't have.
No.
GB only had 2.
GB only had 2.
So... Yep, so that's kind of it. That's really the only event that I can really think of. Obviously, we've got the Glass Blown Open. We can probably talk about that as far as results before we talk to Paul. Let's give some of the other people who did really well for 2 rounds their due.
Mm-hmm.
What are you chuckling at? It was only 2 rounds.
No, that's exactly it. It was just 2 rounds, and of course, the conversation a little bit later will ensue regarding the not only the 2 rounds, just the entire shortened tournament situation, that's no longer specific to last year's USDGC or this.
Do you think Jern feels better now? Do you think he's kind of like, he was that first guy that had the shortened win he had a major.
Yep.
But everyone kind of gave him a hard time about it and this and that. But do you think he feels better now? Like, yeah, screw y'all, I'm not the only one.
I mean, I think naturally we have to continue to give him a hard time because that's the nature.
Of course.
But yeah, there is probably a little less pressure off him now that we've seen a couple of other people. Well, actually, only one other person in the men's division has benefited from this. And there was, of course, a funny comment that was put out there this weekend. Someone went out and had said, Paul McBeth's, getting these, I don't know, basically trying to downplay the wins that he had received after getting 2 shortened event wins at both Nick Hyde and at Glassblown, and they said he should really be thanking Mother Nature, for this happening. And Paul, in classic fashion, which is one reason why I love our sport, Paul had found that post, or it came across his feed at one point, and he just said, "Yes, thank you, Mother Nature." So, well played, sir. Well played. That's what I would say, because it's. I think if I was in the lead and I won GBO after 2 rounds, then it's very appropriate for someone to say, that Miller guy got away with the one. He should be thanking Mother Nature. And then absolutely I should be. Paul in the lead after 2 rounds, that's not quite an anomaly or a 1 in a million situation like it would be with you or I. So just the fact that someone thought that they had to get that play into that, a little bit silly on their part.
It really is. All right, so let's talk about the Masters field real quick. Tied for 3rd was Patrick Brown, George Smith, and Kevin Eldredge. I want to say it's Eldridge. Okay, but it looks funny, like it's EDG. I would think it would be an I. So Kevin Eldridge. 2nd place is Emporia's own Dixon Jowers, playing very well. I know he had his eye on the prize there. He only lost by 1 stroke. And in 1st place is a name that you don't see very often, beating some of these other guys like Chris Smith and Dave Felberg and Joe Rovier, who's new into the Masters. Larry Gardner. So Larry Gardner out of Oklahoma City, shooting 10 under par, shooting a 1032 and a 997 rated round. So congratulations, Larry. We're going to talk.
What was his margin there?
It was 1 stroke. He just one stroke over Dixon. I'm sure he would have got 5 more in the 3rd round.
Yeah.
As all the winners, I just assume would have got more.
Yeah,
So,
of course.
I mean, that's just how it works, right?
Yeah.
So, because there's no controversy. The Open Women, the top 4, tied for 4th was Katrina Allen and Jennifer Allen. 3rd.
No relation.
No relation.
Just to clarify that.
3rd, Lisa Ficus. And tied for 1st, which we don't get to say usually very often, but we've said it now a few times in a row, Paige Pierce and Hannah Leatherman. So congratulations. Paige giving up a few strokes at the end of each round, I believe. And Hannah just playing really solid. I told this to Terry after, I think, day one. I said my picks for most of the leagues I'd picked were Hannah and Paige. So I'm very happy with this finish this weekend.
You would be.
I would be. You can't sleep on Leatherman. She's a very solid player. I think if she were to dedicate more time to touring and less time to, good deeds, like, helping people in, these
other countries, underprivileged countries, and
exactly.
and doing her missionary work.
Missionary work. She could be a consistently solid winning player.
Hashtag priorities.
I know.
I mean,
who knew? So congratulations, Hannah, and congratulations, Paige, on the wonderful victory.
So
Paige shot 1,022 rated round. Let me put it out there. 1,022. I think they had 2 different tees.
They did hole 18 and hole 1
on that first round, and she's 1,022. So, yeah, I know I say it a lot, but these are fantastic golfers, and if you get the chance, go check out the FPO coverage that's out there and just watch Paige crush.
Yeah, well, what's something that we may never be able to say again until the next event is we now have 4 women's champions in the last 2 tournaments.
Yeah,
Sarah and Sarah and Katrina, of course, tying for first over at the Nick Hyde, and then this weekend having Hannah and Pierce. So 4 women's champions in the last 2 major large-scale tournaments.
Yeah,
kind of a funny way to put it.
It really is.
And just to further the point, well, this is how silly I am.
You like to further things.
Yeah. I think of the technicality of it, not because I feel like, it has to be broken and there has to be a champion. I think of the very minor aspect of looking up at the wall. You walk into Dynamic Disc Pro Shop, 912 Commercial Street. There's your free plug. No, but you walk into their beautiful storefront on Commercial Street, and up on the wall it says "Glass Blown Open," and it has previous champions on there.
Yeah.
And you're going to look, and you're going to see McBeth, and then it's going to say slash. I think it's a slash, and then it's going to say, Pierce and Leatherman. And I just think Hannah's name, first of all, is long. Her last name is already long.
They got to get a bigger plaque.
Yeah, her last name is already long in itself, and then you have to add a second name to it. That sounds so incredibly, ridiculously small and petty from an organizer standpoint, but I think forever, when listed, you have to do, give the respect where it's due and list them both, and it's forever going to be this huge long name of Leatherman and Pierce, and same could be said for Nick Hyde in terms of having 2 names on there. So kind of funny to think about whenever it's posted or listed or referenced. I'll say this, I'm hopefully these all happen just this year, because then we'll know 2017. Oh yeah, that was the year of the ties. Like I'll mentally be able to check that and say, oh yeah, 2017.
All right. Do you think we'll see any more this year?
Why not? I mean, it's really a roll of the dice.
I know it is, but
if you go,
the odds are so against it.
They are.
I'm just, yeah.
That's true. If you go by sheer odds and numbers and probabilities, you wouldn't think we'll have another one. We may not have an either. Now, are you saying a shortened tournament, or are you saying a tied tournament?
A tied tournament.
Yeah, probably not.
I don't think we will.
No, because it has to be not only tied, but then shortened so that there is no tiebreaker. Yeah.
I don't think we'll see a tied one. Do you think we'll see another shortened tournament this year? A major or a big event, we'll say.
I don't think so again, and for the same reason. I just think the numbers and probabilities are against us. The odds aren't there. We've just had a couple of crazy anomalies for the last.
You call them crazy anomalies?
I was just gonna say, is there an I don't know. Is it an oxymoron if it's a frequent anomaly, or something like that, or a consistent anomaly? I don't know. So congratulations to them, of course, and yeah, it would be crazy. I think there were other divisions where there were. One of the other divisions, didn't they announce during our awards that we covered, there was something like a 3 or a 4-way tie for first in one of the divisions?
You might be right there.
Something like that. Like that's also crazy. So will it happen in MPO? Who knows? It could. If it's going to happen in FPO, there's no reason it couldn't happen in MPO. So
yeah.
All right. And again, Disc Golf Nerd and others say we need a plan to add bonus days for circumstances like this. That is a conversation. I'll extend that conversation. I feel like sometimes it's become a little bit of a dead horse that we're beating there. I know my opinion's out there. I know everyone's expressed various opinions. We'll talk to Paul a little bit about it as well. But there was a conversation that took place on Sunday, and here's where maybe you could start to think about for the conversation for later. Sunday morning, there were 70-some, I believe, juniors that came out to the DD junior event that was taking place. The weather was lackluster, so they had an instructional clinic take place that was held inside the Granada Theater. Then they all went to lunch, which was the plan, and then they were going to all go play one round of golf at two of the different courses. There were so many kids, they had to split them up into two different courses. And I'm out there. I see Rusco, and I see EMAC, and I see Bobby Brown, and I see all these people out here. And I was thinking about getting a little footage, or we're just kind of walking along, checking out all the action. These kids ranged from the age of like 6 to 18, and everywhere in between. And it was awesome to watch them. But guess what they're playing in? Rain. And less than ideal conditions. Now, it wasn't lightning. I'll say that. Of course, it wasn't lightning while I was there, so they weren't pulled off the course. But here's what I think a lot of people forget. Just because even if you do have a buffer day built in, there's no guarantee the next day is going to be any better.
I know.
Again, odds would tell you that then, probably could be.
And then do you use that? Let's say for GBO, things get crazy weather-wise on Thursday, and they end up canceling Thursday's round. Then you play Friday and Saturday. Sunday looks great. Do you then play Sunday as well to make up for Thursday's round? Or is it buffer day only for the final day? I was looking into it real briefly about this. There was an event, I think it was in a PGA event in Minnesota. It was like the tour, it was like one of the final stops on the tour in 2011 or 2009. They ended up canceling the entire event, I believe, but they weren't originally going to plan to start until Sunday. It was a Thursday start. They pushed it back till Sunday. And I think at some point it was just like the greens were so wet that they just couldn't hold any more water and everything was flooding. And I think they ended up just canceling the entire event. The Viking Open? Something along those lines. But I just think, I'm like, would you, if you canceled Thursday, would you then push that to Sunday? Or if you did Friday, would you then go to Sunday? Or is it a 2-round event? Or do we only use the buffer if it's the final day because people feel cheated?
Well,
I don't know.
That does bring up a great point. Let's say all of the lightning and everything took place just then on Thursday. Yeah. Would you wipe Thursdays of a day out of? I mean, here's another side of the conversation. Mm-hmm. Thursday's horrible. Nope, not a single golf shot gets thrown on Thursday. On Friday, do you go to? Does the event then host everything and it remains the same for Friday and Saturday, or do you push things back one day and you ultimately start the event, on that day? To me, and I think I'm smart sometimes, the event had scheduling so that it culminates all in one place at a certain time for a certain reason. In this case, the country club.
Yep. And
so the country club was a focal point. Usually your final day has a certain focal point or element built into it. And so by that logic, you would say, okay, if there's no play on Thursday, you'd wipe Thursday off the map like Thursday doesn't exist, and then you would just pick up the event, starting it on Friday, and then have it on Friday and Saturday. That would be one logical way to look at it. And if somebody wanted to make an argument about, no, we'll pretend like Saturday doesn't exist, and let's push things to start, Thursday becomes Friday, that's another way to look at it. I just think they have things set in place. The gallery, the infrastructure, everything is set in place so that it finishes at the country club in this case, and that makes the most sense to me. So, I don't know. It's another way to look at it. Yes, there is certainly a conversation about playing in inclement weather. We can all agree that it can and should be done. There's just a difference between inclement weather and dangerous weather.
And you and I had this discussion on the phone, and I had asked you at one point, it was probably about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I said, Terry, have you seen lightning or anything recently? And you were like, oh, I haven't. It's been a couple hours since I've seen it. And granted, you weren't necessarily looking for it. You weren't
Correct.
watching the weather.
I didn't have the expensive lightning detector
exactly.
that the PDGA had there.
And I said, I think the players should be playing if there's no lightning detected nearby. That at least the FPO, it was my thought. But I did preface it by saying, I'm not there. I don't have the information. I don't have the course conditions. I don't have the projections that the PDGA was saying. That I will never second guess their decision, because if they felt it was dangerous, period, you're done. I don't care if for what reason. If it's fairways are dangerous, if it's the high winds and the trees are falling, even though there's no trees in Kansas. If there's lightning nearby within 5 or 10 miles, I know it was a really hairy situation. I had heard a bunch of hubbub on the web, of course, saying, I think they could at least got the FPO in. And maybe they could have. And then you and I had the discussion of, what if you bring them out there for another half hour, lightning hits, you bring them back for an hour, you put them back out for 2 hours, lightning hits, you come back. Like, at what point, you're cooling on and warming up and cooling down? Does it become a physical issue for the players where you may be causing an injury? So there's no good decision. And like I said, I'll never question what the PDGA and Dynamic Disc decides. I know it was a tough decision. Nobody wanted to make that.
Well, and most importantly, the comment that I keep going back to, and call it unselfish or not, I would always say there's no advantage to DD canceling it. There's zero advantage to the PDGA
there's
canceling.
so much more work to it.
Yeah, exactly. in fact, it creates probably more of a workload, strife, turmoil, second guessing, media, all of that. It creates way more challenges to end it. So if anyone thinks there's any kind of personal or company gain or ulterior motive to canceling it, it couldn't be any further from the truth. And fair or not, look at even what we had done. There's no real gain by us. Sure, we didn't have to stand in the rain with a bunch of expensive camera equipment, but we still went down. We still covered the awards ceremony. We still, covered all the stuff that was taking place at the Granada.
And again, we've said it before, you don't want to send your players out carrying giant lightning rods, playing to metal baskets. It makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. And I'm glad for player safety that they called it better be safe than sorry. That's what I always say. And the PDGA will look into this situation. I believe Downs had already posted somewhere or said something that it is going to be on the agenda in the off season to look at some of these conditions and see what can be done. And I don't know if anything can be done, because like Sexton had said in the interview that you gave with him afterwards, it's like, okay, so he's been playing for 15 years. He'd never seen it up until October, and now we've seen it 3 times. Is it a trend? Yes. Is it going to continue? Who knows? And so let's say people do start scheduling out these extra days. How many of them are going to do that? How many of them are going to schedule an extra day, especially if it ends on a Sunday? If it ends on a Saturday, maybe, because you're going to be there and whatnot. But at some point, players are going to stop doing it. And then there's going to be problems when after 3, 4, 5 years, they stop doing it because it's never happened, and then it happens. You're causing the players to spend a lot more money. I think there could be a solution to say, hey, in the case that we look at the next day and it looks like it's going to be playable, we'll push it for maybe the top X number of players, 20. Everybody else is locked in. If you can't play that next day and you're in the top 20, you will drop down to 20th place based on where you're at. If you're in 18th, you drop to 20th. If 20th is dropped off and you're 7th and you can't play, you drop down to 19th. Too bad, so sad. If you can't make that decision. If you're in the top, though. I think everyone else locks in. I think there's solutions to be had, because if you look in the PDGA book, they actually say you can push it off a day.
Sure.
But nobody's ever done it. Or at least nobody in the recent memory. So,
well, we'll see how things go. And just to clarify, and we'll then move on from here, as Birdie Boy says, disc golf, they called it. And the reason why it gets brought up is because we have had these 3 really significant situations in the last few months. If this was a B tier and it impacted 64 people, it would have barely been a blip on the radar, pardon the pun. But it is obviously, so it's a question that remains, and everybody has their own solution. Some I think are really dumb and some are really smart, but that's why we're here to talk about it. But we can move on. The one thing to clarify, Bobby Brown, Cool Daddy Slick Breeze of Dynamic Disc, who was in no part personally, I think, responsible for any of the decision making, but was in on the conversations, has clarified with everyone here on our board. So I'll read how he's talking about the golf course went along with whatever the PDGA and Dynamic Disc said. So the golf course wasn't driving that bus, so to speak. And remember, there were 6 or 8 courses in play around the Emporia area. So it's not like the country club had the final say on any given one situation. So he is clarifying that the golf course was basically okay with whatever decisions were to be made, and it was not them that were driving the decision making process. So
and then
just as a note of clarification,
one
for
more
you guys.
One more thing that people brought up is, like, there are a lot of events that rent out courses for the day. So now, does the TD now rent out that course and hope that he can get his money back from the parks department? Would they even do that at that late of a notice? And then what? The TD eats it, or he takes it out of the pool, the prize purse. Thank you. I couldn't think of I kept thinking pool. The prize purse. Is that fair for the players? Is that? I mean, there's so many questions that we need to answer, and I think they're going to be answered. And this isn't the last problem that we're going to ever see, because if it was, we'd be out of a job.
Well, and it's funny. I think about the B tier I'm running next week, Greater Milwaukee Open. Sign up. But I'm running a B tier next week, and it's going to have probably 180 players over 2 courses. Mm-hmm. Sunday happens to be Mother's Day, but at no point anywhere on this planet did I think, wow, if it's really nasty Saturday, yeah, I should probably book, the 2 courses for, another $1,000 or $500 or whatever on Sunday on Mother's Day, just in case. Like, you just don't think that way. You hope that weather is good enough to get through the day or the weekend or whatever the case might be. And I'm not trying to compare my event to GBO, but you don't think that way. Like, oh, we need to build in an additional day for things like that. And when you do, like you said, it's going to be wasted more often than not. So,
all right, let's before we bring Paul on, let's talk about the actual open field and how the players did. We'll just talk about the top 6. How does that sound? So in 6th place, Kale Leviska from Minnesota, shooting a 16 under par. Tied for 3rd, we had a 3-way tie for 3rd with Chris Clemens, Simon Lizotte, and a Richard Wysocki.
Raincoat Ricky,
not so much anymore. Put that raincoat away. You don't need it. 2nd place, the man, the voice, the future of our sport. No longer part of the Sexy Beast Tour. Nate Sexton. He's going to have to... Is he just going to be the Sexy Tour then? That's kind of awkward. And then, obviously, our guest tonight will be the winner of the GBO for... How many times has he won it?
I think that's his first. No, I'm just kidding.
3rd or 2nd?
2, 3, 4. He probably doesn't know. We'll ask him.
Paul McBeth. So congratulations, Paul, shooting a 1076 in a 1056 rated round. Just based on projection lines, he was probably going to shoot about a 1030 next.
Oh yeah.
And and yeah. So good luck. And then that means Sexton probably would have won. So just ask him.
Yeah. I mean, everyone thinks they would have won.
Just saying.
And just a little funny math, because there ended up only being 2 rounds, and he ended up throwing only 97 strokes on the day. A little quick math will tell you that for Thursday and Friday's work, Paul earned $51.54 for every throw.
So why didn't you throw more? He would have earned more, right? Is that how that works?
No, he
math's lost on me.
$51.55, we'll say, per throw is what he earned while working the GBO.
That's not bad.
So not bad. So we'll see if we can get him dialed in. He'll be joining us here in just a few moments. And we didn't do any testing with him tonight, but hopefully he's been on here long enough.
He knows
often enough.
He knows the routine.
He knows how this goes. He steps inside the SmashBoxx.
All right, so we are going to bring one Paul McBeth on here any second now. But first, why don't we give a quick highlight as to how he got there on the second day?
Is this a $51 throw?
It's going to be a couple throws. It's like $200 worth of throws.
Wow. Let's check it out first.
And McBeth, I think he needed that thrower because this is a flat hyzer shot the whole way. There's OB all over the place, so it's relatively difficult to get close to. Well, this guy's a power thrower, so he just goes, Paul McBeth just goes with a huge sky hyzer, coming into the green nicely, gets a little skip and scoot. And McBeth's putt is left side and in. Great. McBeth.
That last putt was kind of easy, Paul. I mean, you were just a little deep of the basket.
Yeah, that was for the win.
I know. That's why I put it in there. Congratulations. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
You're the first person we've showed highlights for before we bring them on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds fun. I like it.
Stepping up our game here.
Yeah, I know. Just pulling in.
So, $51 a stroke. How does that feel? Did you ever think about it that way?
I have in the past. I know Devin Owens has done that before and stuff like that throughout the years, like how much you earn per stroke. But typically the average, I think, for me was $7. So this was kind of a big weekend.
I'd say so. Well, it was a pretty crazy weekend, and give us your recap. I mean, we can talk about the weather and all that stuff, but just give us your overall feel from it.
The weekend, it was a windy weekend. I'm like getting over being sick now. It caught me right after the event, luckily. So it's been a day or two little thing, but it was really windy for practice, especially. So going out to Olpe, I played that one the most, just because I never played it before, and it seemed to be 45-mile-per-hour gusts each day. But yeah, it was a good weekend. It's always nice to go back to Emporia. They make they make us feel like we're a really big sport there. I mean, everyone knows that it's going on. Everyone's asking about it. So it's really nice to go back to Emporia and see everyone and just be part of that community for a weekend or a whole week, to be honest. But yeah, it was a good weekend overall.
Now, it almost seems unfair. We're used to so much wind at Glass Blown. Everybody knows about it, practices in it, talks about it. But then we go out both to Olpe on Thursday and Jones East on Friday, and some of the least amount of wind we've ever experienced, like ever. Was that a blessing in disguise?
I mean, yeah, especially at Olpe with all that water. No wind there made that course actually really fun to play. With the wind, it's really challenging. It's kind of intimidating because I personally lost 11 discs out there in practice. So none of them were my really good destroyers or anything like that, or my staple disc, but 11 discs out there is a lot. So to play out there with no wind and be able to enjoy the course and enjoy who you're playing with was a real pleasure.
Dare I ask, when you talk about 11 discs lost during practice, is that mainly on drives? Is that just to the Peninsula greens? Where did you find that, or could that just be about anywhere?
It was all of them. Like I lost that putter that I caught on that video that was on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
The shot before that was a little upshot that hit just a little pebble and launched into the lake, and that's how I got to that spot. It was just a little upshot, and it just hit a rock and flew into the lake like 60 feet. So I mean, I lost AVRs, rocks, gators, FD3s, destroyers. So I lost every disc possible out there.
I think people were actually relatively disappointed that there was no wind as far as the viewers go. I know the pros not at all, but I think the people really wanted to see the teeth come out at Olpe and have it really punish you guys, and we didn't get a chance to see that. The course played, we'll say, relatively easy compared to what it could have.
Yeah, I think a lot of people wanted to see it because it was used for was it GBO last year or Worlds or something like that, so they wanted to see.
Worlds, I believe.
Yeah, Worlds on the master side. I don't believe it was actually used during the men's. Yeah, you guys didn't play during
not the amateur side though, correct? At GBO.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was there. I think those players really wanted to see us struggle on it in the win. They had to play.
Explain that course to everyone, because it is kind of the newest one in the mix. So if you had to review it, how would you review it?
I mean, when I first stepped up to it, there was a lot of water. I mean, you just see this huge lake, not much land on the outside of it, so you can see the water was going to come into play a lot. But it reminded me of, after playing it, like a little bit bigger, well, a lot bigger, I should say, Fountain Hills. Some of the greens, some of the fairways, a lot of the shots were very similar. But then it also had some of those wooded holes that were not Fountain Hills like or Arizona like. But a lot of the peninsula greens, a lot of the throwing next to the water was very Fountain Hills like. But then I don't know what to compare the other few wooded holes to, but they were fun. It was a fun course overall.
Yeah, there's some relatively short holes. I think it was hole 7 was just a couple hundred feet. Very, very placement or accurate shot, up against that back flag wall or whatever. So there were a few really short holes, and then there were a number of them out on the peninsulas, and that really challenged the water. I think of hole 2, for instance, is a must-get, downhill 315 feet with a hanging basket. But they tethered the hanging basket. I know there were some questions about that.
As they should.
Yeah. Would you ever want to see a hanging basket that's not tethered, or does it just matter per the wind? And then what's the point of having a hanging basket if it's always tethered?
Exactly. For tournaments, hanging baskets aren't that fun. If you're playing a casual round and you're like one of 10 people on the course and it's not blowing around or moving around. But for tournaments, if you have someone putting right after you, you don't want a hanging basket. So preferably not for tournaments, but practice or just a casual course like that doesn't matter at all.
Well, and
yeah, because there's really no difference between a hanging basket and then just the raised basket at that point.
Yeah, and elevating it up. What is your favorite hole, since everyone got to see it, what would you say is your favorite hole out at that course?
At Olpe?
Yeah.
I like that par 5. I think it was a par 4, though. I mean, I think it should have been a par 4.
Sure.
I really like that hole because you got to throw a really, big drive, and then you had to be really accurate on your second shot because it was a pretty small green, little peninsula green up there. So that was a really fun hole. And then hole 3. Hole 3 was a really good hole.
Hole 3 is 480 with a ravine about 30 feet short, a 20 to 30 foot wide ravine. I would say probably from the 420 to the 460 mark, and then 460 to 480 is where the basket was located. It's funny, some people question that hole, whether A, it was a par 4, and B, whether or not that was a hole people could go for. Were you just trying to get it as close to the OB line to make a putt over it?
I wasn't necessarily trying to get as close to the OB line as possible, more than navigate those first few trees, because it is only 480 par 4. If you cut that in half, you're only throwing 240. So, did you say it was 480?
Yeah, 480.
Yeah, so 240. But the challenge is really just navigating those first few trees, and then the upshot over the water isn't too hard. But I don't know if I saw anyone go for the hole, not even in practice, because you go in that thing and your disc is gone. It's too muddy and too dark to see anything in it. But it was a good par 4. I would like to see it another 100 feet probably, though, longer, to be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, make it a little bit more of a I'll say, I don't want to say a true par 4, but give it a little bit more teeth
Exactly.
as a par 4.
Yeah. Make the second shot a little bit more difficult to where it brings in that low ceiling that you can't really see on the second shot.
So I've got to ask, I didn't have a clever name. I failed myself in not coming up with a clever name for the greens that were really mostly rock. Do you have a name for those?
I don't have a name for them, but I don't like them.
Okay, why is that?
It's not, you're just throwing onto gravel. I mean, you might as well be thrown into a parking lot.
Okay.
Kind of feels like playing at Rosendale, in Kansas City, where the whole course is nothing but rocks, and you basically bring a disc there that I'm not going to throw this again. So
exactly. I learned that the hard way 2 days ago at our McBeth challenge.
Oh yeah,
you were in Kansas City at Rosedale.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Destroyer just got a huge gash in it.
Yeah, so certainly something to think about. Would you love to see that area wood chipped or, some AstroTurf? What would you, if they're going to continue to use it? It sounds like they're putting in a lot of energy and effort out there, and they're probably open to suggestions. What would you love to see out on that green? And would it just need to be like one big, 60-foot circle overall?
Uh-huh. Man, that's a challenge. I mean, I don't know if anything can grow on that, and then with the wind, if anything could really stay on that. So you might almost have to just almost go with, I don't know what you do. I don't know what you do. It'd be nice to have grass or dirt or anything besides rocks.
Okay.
You know, I don't know if you can get mulch to stay on there with how windy it gets out there. I don't know what you have to put on that, but it doesn't look like anything will grow there anytime soon.
Hannah, I believe that's your fiance that's chiming in on the board. Thankfully, has she suggested Legos? How do you feel about Legos?
Legos, just a giant. Now the question is, are they just loose Legos, like just lying around, like you're walking around barefoot, and
or assembled Legos,
or like a nice Lego flat kind of? We need a little clarification here.
Sounds like a great idea.
Just get a disc with a Lego that'll just park right where it hits.
Stick.
Yeah, and then it comes in and hits on their flat. So that's that course. Now moving on to the second day, of course you went into one that everyone's pretty familiar with. It's been featured on SportsCenter twice now, but Jones East. It's more so in city limits, but hardly what you'd call like a regular city course. I mean, there's definitely some legitimate challenges, OB and length out there. What's your take on Jones East?
I like Jones East. It's a fun course to play, and I know Eric McCabe. He has an even tougher layout for us that he wants us to play every year when that's opened up again. But Jones East is fun. There's a lot of eagle opportunities. There's a lot of different types of holes there. It's more of a park course, you can definitely tell, but it's a course where the front nine's very challenging with those par fours. You know, you could get eagles or you could get bogeys. It fluctuates there. And then the back nine's got a lot of easy par threes and then challenging par threes. There's nothing really that's a hit or miss. You're either birding it or you're struggling on it. So it's a fun course. It's a scoring course for sure for out there. It's the easiest of the three for scoring wise, but it's a fun one to play. I like that they mix that one in there a lot.
Now, one of the first things that I noticed out there was the shortened basket that we found on both 13 and 18, and then there was a slightly moved basket on hole 3. Good changes? Did you like those changes?
I like the one on 13. I like that change because going across that bridge and stuff, it's a good par 4, but it's just time consuming. And then the challenge of with that OB line, that little creek, and where they put it now, it's a really tough par 3. I like that as a par 3.
Which you put to within like 18 feet?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, okay,
like
go on.
But it's a good solid drive. And if they move it back, that's probably how I'm going to throw my drive down on the next hole because I never thought about going right there if they move it back to that par 4 spot. But 3 is the other one that they moved, correct?
Yeah, they moved 3 to the right. And I think, thankfully, I had Robert McCall with me, and he was talking about how, you know, we're seeing some of the 2s that are on there on a huge drive, some of the 2s that can be over there. But when you move it over to the right, it just seemed like a much more challenging position. And you were challenged by it as you hit the base of the open-air pavilion.
I don't know what their thinking was there because they put it to the right, and they called it a par 3. But instead of a par 4, which is
tougher.
a challenging spot. Yeah,
Sure.
So I'd rather have them put it straight and call it a par 3. You know, because there's 2 opportunities there. But that was interesting that they called it a par 3 and moved over there to a more challenging spot. But I mean, I think that's a good. It's a tweener hole for sure. I mean, you call it a par 4, everyone's going to be birding it. Not many eagles on it though, because it is a good distance. But if you put it in the straight spot, there's quite a few eagles, maybe a handful of 4s throughout the whole field. So that's kind of just a tough hole for them.
And then they also moved 18, and I feel like I feel like that had a huge impact for a lot of different reasons. But I'd love to hear your logic on it.
Because you're 18, it's traditionally longer. It goes down. There's usually OB off to the left. You're one of the few players that we've seen run at that almost every year.
Yeah, that one I think it's a more professional move for them on their part. You know, it's not going across a parking lot. It's not going over cars. It's not, you know, doing all that stuff. So I think it's a more professional look to have it shorter, but it's not as dramatic of a finishing hole. So, you know, there's multiple reasons for them moving it. And then I think the struggle of with the parking lot, how small it is already, and then people coming in and out. that it just became a challenge to have it in that long spot. So I think that was more of a smarter move on their part. And then hole 13 they had to move due to construction, not necessarily because they wanted to.
Do you, with all of that being said about those two courses, we won't really talk too much about Country Club because you didn't ultimately get out there. But so the changeup really being for both as a result, or I should say post Worlds and last year's GBO, there was no Peter Pan in the mix. That's very much a city course, but yet one where I know, we as live broadcasters got really good signal, but maybe not quite the challenge that some of the other courses would give you, or do you feel indifferent about playing Peter Pan or not?
I think I don't like playing Peter Pan. It's a little too short for us, especially for a national tour. It's a fun course to play, but I don't think it's one that you want to showcase for your national tour level tournaments or as big as GBO is for us playing and to be filmed and stuff like that. I don't think that's one you want to showcase. I'm really sad that they didn't use Municipal. I think that's one of their better courses, for sure. That's a fun one to play, but it's another golf course.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you could have your choice of 3 courses, and in what order would you play them?
I would of course add Jones. I would like to see his super layout that he keeps talking about, Eric. To see if that could get incorporated somehow. Country Club, of course, that's their staple course. And then it'd be a toss-up because I'd love to play Olpe if it wasn't windy, But then I like to play Municipal either way. If it's windy or not, that one's playable. Olpe isn't too playable in 30-plus mile-per-hour winds. It's not fun or exciting for people to watch. It'd probably get boring after about 6 holes seeing people just launch them in the water.
Well, some people might.
People will enjoy. I know it sounds sadistic, but people will enjoy that.
They'll enjoy it until they see the players themselves just.
Yeah, the players will be frustrated, and you're going to get a bunch of layups. Is what you're going to get. You're going to see these players laying up from 20 feet on these windy shots.
And over and over.
Yeah, it's not good scoring, and it's not that exciting. It might be funny, but
yeah, it'll be funny.
So I'll take it a step further because this is a legitimate question that lingers throughout. Is we're seeing, for instance, Steve Dodge on the Pro Tour. In an ideal situation, he wants to move all events to really be on one course over whether it's 3 or 4 rounds. That's another debate, but one course. It helps for media. It helps for the players. If GBO, and again, due to its pro field and its overall size, that's not practical right now, just like we say about the Memorial. But if it were to move to just one or remain on 1 or 2 courses, then is your answer the same? Jones East, or what courses would you like to trim it down to?
That's definitely tough, especially with GBO. Sorry, especially with GBO. I think GBO would be one of the few where you could use 2 courses because it's such a small town. They're literally a quarter mile from each other, maybe, the 2 courses, compared to every other big tournament. If you go to another quality course like that, you're driving 20, 30 minutes away. So you could practice both those courses in one day and not be too much of a hassle. But if it had to be one, I think they would have to find – I don't know if they could make the Country Club challenging enough to be 3 rounds a day. 3-round tournament, with that one course. Okay. So I think that one needs a little bit of mix of that and then like the Super Jones or whatever they want to call it. And that's one of those cool features of Emporia is you could play those 2 courses because you could walk to both of them if you wanted to.
Yeah, they're being in Emporia. We kind of harped on it all week, and they have billboards that says Emporia knows and has perfected disc golf. It's that small town and feel of inclusion and just the way that they embrace the disc golf community at all levels is really that's. Do you feel like that's found anywhere else in the country or around the world?
Not how it is there in Emporia. Because for me, I'm a big advocate on. I like the one course. Have us play one course because then we get to play our best, the best that we can. But Emporia is it's probably the only one where I'll say I think 2 courses is better. But as far as the feel that they give you, I don't think there is anywhere. Maybe Maple Hill, but not the city itself. The little area of Leicester and stuff like that. You kind of get that feel when you're at the course. But other than that, there's no other town that makes you feel like that at home and that welcome.
Yeah, well, and so many players that are coming in, this 1,000 or 1,100. Now, a lot of conversation is talked about, and we'd love to hear your input as to should there be a contingency plan, more rounds scheduled, less round, more rounds on certain days, or maybe scheduled for 2 rounds on a Thursday, but if they're not needed or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of different ideas out there and concepts. Or do we just keep rolling the dice and assume we're going to get back on a normal pace? What do you think about that?
You talking about weather?
Yeah, just weather in general and the craziness we've seen in the last few big events.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, issues in the way of making that happen. There's the volunteers. You're going to need volunteers. You're going to need staff to stay another day. You're going to have all these players booking extra days, and 95% of the time they're not going to need it. And I think there's just so many issues that would come up, just to get a potential extra day. So I don't think necessarily that we need it. I think it's just, it happens sometimes. It happens in any outdoor sport you're going to have. There's going to be some cancellations when you have so many events. And, it sucks that it's some of the biggest events that we have this year, but, or any year, it's some of the biggest events. But, I think it'll just happen. And I was talking to actually Old Two World yesterday about it. And I think, with the situations, they were talking about the ties. Like, how would you figure out the ties? We can't have co-champions and stuff. And I think when it comes to those situations, you just have to wait it out and until about, just tell these people, like, be on standby until we get a break in the weather and we're going to have a playoff, like, for first place. And that's it. You have the 2 women go out and you're like, all right, everyone, we're going to have a 3-hole playoff and then sudden death after that. If they end up tied after 3 holes.
It could literally be sudden death if somebody gets struck by lightning.
Yeah, and it would have been one of those tournaments where we would have had to wait until about 3 or 4 o'clock for them to go out. But
Sure.
There won't be co-champions, and it'll still have something to watch.
Sure.
So
that's an interesting way to look at it for sure. Again, there were so many different situations. One of the conversation that came about was with the women being, of 30 or 40 people or 30 or 40 women that it was. Some had said, well, the women, with as early as a 7:30 tee time originally, is there a chance that the women throughout the day, now it may have taken 4 or 6 or 8 hours, that the women could have gotten all the way through the course? Do you have an opinion on that?
I think that would have been the right thing to do. I think they still could have finished the women and just had it go out the whole day and just cancel the MPO field and whatever courses they had to do that with as well. Maybe they could have gotten advanced masters through, but not advanced women and men. But at least there'd be some people that got their 3 rounds in and stuff like that. But yeah, they could have finished the women if they wanted to. It just would have been an all day thing. But I also heard the argument of awards and stuff like that. What do you do with the rest of the people, and do you have to wait it out? And there's all sorts of stuff and situations, but overall, I think they could have got the women through and finished that side at least.
Yeah. Now, another conversation, and just to kind of explore a few of the ideas out there, another conversation is, what if they trimmed the men that day to, we'll say, whether it's the top 10 or 12 or whatever magic number you want to come at, you'd think divisible by 4. But let's say the top 12 or 16 or 20, and had them, same thing. What if the top 20 men went out and the top 8 women went out, and it took them all day to get through on Saturday? Is that a viable solution?
I don't like that. I don't like the sound of that. If there was knowledge that this event could be struck with bad weather a week before the event, to where if it was like, okay, if there's a weather situation, we may cut the field in half. I don't think top 12 or anything like that is anything fair. But if you were to cut the field in half and try to squeeze them through before darkness, like, that would make more sense than to just cut it at 12. Like,
okay,
I don't think that's fair to a lot of people in the tournament, because it's just, we're all playing. We're all here to play. And I would hate to be in 13th and not be able to play, or whatever it is. And then just have to watch those people play. So.
Well, and we both know you bring up one of my points. You'd hate to be in 13th and not be able to play, just like you'd hate to be in 73rd out of 144 and not be able to play. No matter where you make that cut, somebody's going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, somebody, I was just ready to have the round of my life. You know, I shot
top two
900 rated rounds, but I was gonna have 1,080 round and get into the cash. You know,
just the top two then.
Okay, well then, I don't know. It's just
No,
it's
no, I know.
as much as we want to come up with explore all solutions. Depending on who and where they're coming from, they sometimes sound very selfish and impractical for some of those reasons. So.
And also, you know, the PDJ doesn't, you know, if the PDJ paid for it all and was able to cover all those expenses of the hotel stays, the tournament staff, the extra renting of the golf courses, then sure, you know, why would we not stay an extra day? But, you know, you're talking $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and let's be fair, 95, 96, 98% of everyone at that tournament out of 1,100 golfers don't do disc golf for a full-time job.
Yep.
They're not, and I kind of, I think, made a joke on one of the wrap-up shows. You're in, we'll say, 50th place, and you're throwing a fit, and you know you bump up to 48th place, and you make an extra $109. That's not exactly worth staying and spending hundreds of extra dollars to stay all the way into Monday or Sunday or whatever the case was. It's just impractical. And we're not talking about PGA levels of checks.
Correct.
It's,
and it's not like we're getting, you know, we're paying more money to stay longer, but we're not making more.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's exactly another way to look at it. So, it's a debate that will rage on. I don't think we have a perfect solution. The one thing, I don't know if I'm spilling any beans or not, but the one of the conversations, I guess, is a fair way to put it. On Sunday, I was standing in the rain watching the juniors along with Doug Bierkes, our tournament director, along with Jeremy Rusko. And Doug had said, well, what if Sunday had some kind of high-stakes doubles or some other format that was scheduled for Sunday that people could participate in, but there's a little footnote that says, in the case of inclement weather, that these actions may get bumped in terms of possibly needing to finish up the actual tournament. So basically he's saying, what if we scheduled other stuff that people could choose to participate in, and that stuff will go on, assuming the tournament goes off just fine, but if the tournament has any problems or delays, well, then those activities may get canceled to wrap up the tournament. So basically giving you an incentive to add in that buffer day.
But how many players can play in that event? Is it really worth? I mean, you at that point you might as well just say cut it to 20 people, because half the people aren't going to be like, well, I'm not going to hang around for that. Probably I'm just going to leave. It's going to cost me an extra $100 in a hotel room. It just doesn't seem like as great as that would be. And I think it's something the GBO. I mean, they do that. They do run stuff on Sunday. I'm kind of under the situation like I don't necessarily think it's the best idea.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just a thought, because again, some people then might have an additional incentive to have that built in, and you know, I think Rusko said a few years ago they hosted a doubles tournament, a bring your own partners double tournament on Sunday, and I think they said $3,000 first place guaranteed if all 72 teams, or there's 36 teams, whatever it was, if it sells out, they're going to give away $3,000 for first place. So they were really trying to incentivize it, but they only had 18 teams show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Did you play in it?
No.
And the problem,
nobody would be your partner. You were denied.
No.
Nate and I were talking about it when we left.
And then the problem you have is Saturday, for a lot of players, is a lot of fun, and getting up Sunday isn't a lot of fun after your lot of fun on Saturday. So it makes it a lot more difficult to do. So.
I think you hit on one of the other points that I saw, and of course got mildly frustrated with pause when you said, the staff, the volunteers, and someone had posted something along the lines of, I said, what about the hundreds of volunteers that make, each and every day happen? You're going to tell them, hey, you're going to go stand out in potential lightning off and on for the entire day on Saturday. Your 7-hour day just became a 12-hour day. And someone without a brain said, well, that's what they signed up for. I'm like, I'm not sure.
No, that's not what they signed up for.
Volunteering means potentially dying.
I love disc golf and I love the PDGA. I'm out of here. If it was me, I'm not standing out in that.
Yep. And then it's just like, that, like you said, the after party and stuff going on Saturday. If they still had that block party and all the stuff going on, and then like, all right, you guys still got to play Sunday. How's that going to look at the block party?
Yeah, it definitely would impact things. And just to put a final stamp on the whole pushing it back a day, a perfect example is you look at the USDGC. It was not practical in that case, an event that ended on Saturday. People were taking refuge in Rock Hill because they were getting away from the coast. So even if players did want to spend an extra night, there were virtually no room nights available because people were already coming to that area to get away from other nasty weather. Yeah. So that was something else that was taken into consideration, right?
Yeah, that's how it was, because we were at a hotel, I think, that night, or my brother and his girlfriend had a hotel there, and you just saw the people flooding in because they were evacuated from where they were because of the hurricane. So that hotel was completely booked, and they even tried to get another day, a few of the players, but it couldn't happen.
Yeah, so pretty crazy stuff going on. Paul, let's talk about some other exciting things, since, again, we haven't had you on to talk too extensively about it. But congratulations, of course, to you and your engagement a few weeks ago.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know, did it surprise the disc golf world? Do you think everyone else was surprised?
I think so.
Yeah,
I was surprised.
It's surprised.
Your better half was surprised. Good.
That's really the only person you need to surprise. Let's be
true.
real.
Yeah, so I kept it pretty under wraps. Honestly, I didn't even tell anyone in my family about when it was coming and that stuff, because they like to talk. So
I'm not going to lie. We're used to exclusives here, and I'm a little disappointed you didn't share it.
Or you didn't do it on the show.
Yeah,
Just saying.
come on.
So, silly questions about it. Did you ask for permission from the family before you did it?
Of course.
Okay.
Oh, of course.
I didn't. I'm just saying. It's a legitimate question.
They were like, no, just
get rid of her.
There's an open invite.
Please.
Just get rid of her.
They're still giving me the option to, you can still back out now if you want. So.
Okay. Well, good. There should always be a rider in there somewhere. And did I hear there was even a little collaboration with a super supporter over in Minnesota? Is that correct?
Yeah, Ryan with Lock Jewelers, he definitely helped me out a lot with how to design the ring and because I kind of talked to him about what she liked and stuff leading up to it, and then I designed it with him and got it through him because he is a disc golf supporter. So I thought, what better way to support a disc golf, I guess, someone in the disc golf family. They got an awesome jewelry store up there. When I went to the Minnesota Majestic, he gave Nate and I a tour of his jewelry store and his family-owned jewelry store. So we developed a relationship, and I told him, when the time comes, I'm going to him. So.
And I think that's awesome. I beat it to death. Support those who support us. And in this case, you had a connection to someone in the jewelry business, so I think that made perfect sense, and awesome to see that. So the debate continues to rage on about this Adidas sponsorship and representation, and I feel like I called you out, and I'll do it again. You had told us that when you were pulling off your hat, it kept pulling the hairs out of the back of your head. Yet me and everyone else seems to think that was an attempted Adidas logo in your head. You still got the same story.
No, yeah, it was definitely the hat.
Okay.
Because I haven't worn hats in so long, and I noticed it actually because I used to have a little spot right here too that probably 2 years ago you can see in the videos, because the Innova hats have tags right here above the ear. And I'm just so fidgety with my hats, and I don't think about it. Like when I'm playing, I just move them around all the time, and just like the stitching just tends to just pull them out, And I didn't see this one as early as I saw the other one because it's on the back of my head, so I didn't think about it. But just pulled out a pretty good chunk of hair over time.
And it wasn't an Adidas hat or anything either.
No, it was the New Era one.
So that is all just hair from being pulled out. You didn't.
Yeah, it's growing back. I haven't worn hats in about a week or two, so it's slowly growing back.
Okay. It's just the debate rages on.
Yeah, had it not been on the back of my head, I probably would have noticed it sooner.
Robert McCall's on the board, and he says he's screaming, "I'm not buying it." So.
Okay, I still haven't seen it, so I don't know what it looks like.
Mysteriously, it really does look like an Adidas logo. So
an attempted Adidas
I would have
logo.
just said I was going for it. I mean, no reason not to dive right in
Yeah,
on that.
hey, make that money. Have Adidas pay you for that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you can go to the Emporium. I mean, Robert McCall could go to the Emporium barber at Snip and Clip and ask if it was there before she cut the hair.
Yes, Lock Jewelers, everyone on the board who is wondering. Lock Jewelers out of Minnesota.
L-O-C-H.
LOCH. Great
Yep.
guys over there. Supported the what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I said they're an awesome family. I was able to meet them all. It's family owned. They all work there. So.
Well, they all exactly, and they supported both the Minnesota Majestics along with the Skins match that I had covered last year. So certainly, again, reach out, tell them Paul and Smashbox sent you over there. Hannah, I don't know if she's available or present or not, but also some news on her end about.
If you want.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from her, and if she could step in and give us a little update. Hello, welcome. It sounds like it sounds like
Simon
the
says.
product placement already starts here.
Wow.
So congratulations both on an engagement, but also more recently, we hear news of you getting picked up by Discmania. Congrats. How'd that come about?
I
don't know how it really came about.
I'll tell you guys. So when we're at Innova and
this is gonna be an embarrassing story.
Yeah.
Oh,
So when we're
alright.
at Innova and Discmania, we're fortunate enough to go to the warehouse when we're there before we head out to like Vegas and Memorial. And she would go through the factory and just tell everyone, "Hey, I'm sponsored by Discmania. Just wanted you guys to know." So that's her. That's how she gets into these places. She says it well before. And then UC happened to be there. I think he was there for some business, and he said, "Hey, UC, I just want you to know I'm sponsored by Discmania," and just letting him know. So she was just telling him all this. And he said he would keep an eye on her because she said, "I got into the Gentlemen's Club, the Classic, so." She got into that tournament, and he's like, "All right, I'll be keeping an eye on you, so no pressure." And then she ends up winning by 17. So
Dang.
he had to take notice, and he did, and that's kind of where that really developed. She had the confidence going in there, and then he had to eat his words, I guess.
Well, it sounds like you just have to really make the demands, or make the words come true, and you did just that. So where are you at in your playing career? I mean, that was an advanced win by 17, very impressive. Does that scream bagger, or does that scream time for pros, or what? No.
I think some people screamed bagger, but it was my first A tier ever. I never really competed, but the way that I look at it is, which I kind of realized at Texas States, because I didn't play Texas States, but I practice for all of the events with Paul and Nate every single time, even if I don't play them. And so we were like teeing off on hole one. I think Jomez was there to just play with us for fun. And immediately after I threw, Nate Sexton was like, "More Anheuser." And then I would like putt, and Paul would be like, "Your follow through is not high enough." And so when you do that for 18 holes a day, 36 holes, before a tournament, it's like you got to get pretty good, or you're just going to get a little bit annoyed. So, yeah, they coach me a lot. I always call them my coaches, like, in a loving way, because that's just, I don't know. I think they get to play with the men a lot, and so when they play with a woman, they, just want to see me do really well. Especially since I will be competing now, but they've just always lovingly been like, "Hey, your follow through's not really there, or you're not planting your foot right." And sometimes I'll turn around and Paul will be filming me, and I'm not even competing in the event. I'm just throwing for fun, and he's like filmed me, and I'm like, "Oh, great.
That's not creepy.
Oh, excellent." And they'll be like, "Look, you're doing this right here," and he'll show me on my phone and be like, "You're not following through here." And I'm like, "Okay." But it's really great. So, Vegas I got into at the last second. And like he said, I was just teasing UC the whole time. Like, okay, wait till I crush it. And then you could put me on the team. And, I ended up getting an email like a month or so later saying making me an offer. And, I thought it was really great. I really like Discmania. I like their discs. And they're really not women haters. That's like the joke that people will tell me.
That's a resounding
I'm so
endorsement right there. We're not women haters.
We don't hate women.
I just like to say that
Hannah
they're
setting
kind of
things
like,
straight, folks.
they're kind of like high school guys. Like they're just not good with women yet. Like, like they like them a lot. Like they respect them. They're really into them, but they're just not really like, they're not good with them yet.
Okay.
So I was like teasing at Eagle and Simon, like, I'm going to teach you all about women and, what we like. And, I'll show you pink. You can throw more pink discs. And so it's like the ongoing joke.
I don't think Simon needs any help.
Well, that's very cool. Now, there's always a question when people are sponsored by Innova or Discmania. Are you exclusive to their brand? And it seems like if you're Discmania these days, you're exclusive to the Discmania brand, or no?
Yeah, so it took a long time for me to make my decision because of that reason.
She was offered by Innova as well.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Show me the money.
Yeah,
it's a bidding war. Let's see
As
it.
an 866 player, nobody's showing me the money, Terry.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, but so I always knew I wanted to be like in the Innova family, but I didn't know where my best fit was. So I talked to JP, like Jonathan Poole, about it. I talked to Austin about it, and I ended up, going with Discmania, and they basically said they have a best friendship with Innova for obvious reasons. If there's something that I absolutely want to throw from Innova, they have no issue with that. I just wouldn't be like, everyone go throw this disc or something. That wouldn't be very kind to my sponsor to do that to somebody else. But I can throw other Innova stuff. I just can't throw like competing molds. So I can throw like a Nova, Panther, and Atlas. Like
so essentially the ones that they don't have, which are only those three.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool and exciting. Now, is that gonna? You spoke about playing a little bit more. Do you feel is that gonna drive you to play more, or was that already in the cards for you? What does that mean?
I think with the Innova sponsorship, if I had chosen that, I wouldn't have necessarily been pushed to compete more or change anything that I was doing. I'm able to work because my job on the road, so I'm able to travel a lot, and whatever events I can afford, I sign up for. But so with Innova, I could keep doing that. They weren't going to really be here or there about it. But with Discmania, it was, in my mind, just another step. A step towards pro, a step towards taking this a little bit seriously, a step towards a bigger commitment. Because they don't really have like that. They don't have like that female face yet. And even though that won't be me until I work really hard and earn it, even if it's not me, that's okay. But that's what I'm working towards now. That I would say that's my goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I also feel like she has a little better opportunity too with she went to Liberty for 4 years, with her bachelor's in exercise science. That's right, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now she gets to use that a lot more up close with her players at Discmania, which is really cool to see. She gets to work with Simon, Eagle, and probably some other players and some European players. So that's really cool to see that she's got that developed with her new deal with Discmania.
Well, and I was going to say, we think about the longest throwers in our game, and of course you've talked at great lengths about helping out Paul with some things he may or may not even had known could be issues for him in the longevity of his career. And then we see Simon coming back from an injury from as recently as last year, and then the long thrower and an Eagle McMahon, and just all of the players. Do you feel like you're gonna I don't want to say become kind of the team manager in that sense, but do you feel like you'll be fitting right into some of those roles with helping everyone out?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely. I think with fitness, just from recent experience and being a woman in the fitness field, it's still relatively new, to have female trainers and female coaches and things. So the idea of a female teaching you about health and wellness doesn't sound strange, but the idea of a female teaching you about like strength and conditioning, being strong, is a little, still a little different. You know, it's not like mainstream yet. So I think now having my own disc golf career and my own goals and being able to be an example, I think I can earn more respect. Whereas otherwise I would have just been coming at them from an outside perspective. And now that I have the inside perspective, I can say, listen, I threw these 18 holes today and I was wiped, but this is what I did to make it through. What are you doing? And then they'll be a little bit more comfortable opening up and a little more apt to listen.
And she's already showing Eagle some new foods to eat too on the road, which is
geez.
impressive.
Wow.
He has
Yeah,
found
that
them
is
all
impressive. That
already.
is so
I was going to say,
impressive.
what else can he be eating? He's been eating, plants and such now for
There's only so many plants.
10 years. How can you show that guy new foods?
Yeah, she's showing him some new food.
That he likes. I've never heard him be like, wow, this is so good. Only once. And it was at a restaurant, so he can't just take that restaurant with him where we go.
So what's in your plans for this year? Well, are you going to continue to be in the RV and traveling around frequently? And how many weekends are you going to play versus, we'll say, caddy or whatever else, non-play, whatever else
Yeah,
you want to.
well, Paul and I actually had a really serious conversation about touring because his trailer's in of us. So I told him I would just take like a Discmania themed pop-up tent and just like sit outside,
Perfect.
So there wouldn't be any conflict.
Good.
Just paint just the back of the bus. You just get the one back. Have Paul on the sides. You're set.
No, I'll still be in there. And I am just signing up for more events. I think I'm not necessarily, I don't have any plans to play open at every tournament this year, but I'll be playing open in like a week and a half at Kona Peace Day, I think in 10 days. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be playing open after that in California.
I think she's going back and forth between the divisions until she gets settled in one right now.
Yeah, because I'm already signed up for AM and some, and like there's like 50 million people on the wait list. So I don't want to go back to the.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on AM Worlds for you, or?
No, because we'll be in Europe.
Yeah, we'll be doing a Finland promotional tour. I think the time of AM Worlds, unfortunately.
Yeah, I really wanted to play that, but I guess it's all right because Europe's pretty cool too. So.
I guess I'll have to be in Europe.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Rough life.
Yeah. What other events would you say you're specifically looking forward to? We know where Paul's going and, kind of his expectations throughout the year, but you're a newer face on the scene in terms of going out and experiencing this whole world of disc golf in the last few years. What are some of the things you're most looking forward to?
So I'm excited to play. I think I love watching Paul. I don't have any plans to play Worlds, like Pro Worlds this year. I think I would rather just watch him and support him. But one of the events that I'm most excited about playing is the Vibram, because that was the event that I watched in like 2014 that I saw women throwing at. And I was like, wow, they play this game too? Like professionally? Like that's amazing. And that's where I met Paige Pierce at like Hot Dog Annie's and sat with her and had lunch with her and Ragna and a couple other women and just like fangirled all over the place. And now I get to play, alongside them, which is really cool. So this will be my first year playing. So I'm excited for that. Even though I've been to that tournament several times, I finally get to play it. And then obviously just, going to Europe is such an incredible opportunity and a blessing. And I'm excited to play with all of these girls that I follow on Instagram who are like European disc golfers and they follow me. So we're like all excited to finally meet and like play together. Because that's how women's disc golf works.
Well, we all know it's no secret. It needs to be about the networking because clearly enough men haven't done enough in the last 20 or 30 years to bring in more women. So I continue to say it has to be about the networking of our positive role models, of our positive, friendly women that bring in other women to bring them in and hopefully welcome them into the sport so that it can continue to grow and foster from there. So I think that makes perfect sense.
GBO, it was me, Abigail Farrow, Kona Panis, and then Rebecca Cox. And we all just randomly met up, and it was just four of us, and we went and played, and everyone was just like looking at our card because there was that C tier going on that day. So of course there was a million people out on Jones. And they were all just looking at all of us like, what? Like, it was
What
like,
did Val say?
like they're like, what is that? Like, what is this group of girls? And Val Jenkins was like, I want to play with you guys. Like, it's fun.
Exactly.
So
Well,
it was just funny to be able to go out there and just a group, like, you know, in the middle of all these men practicing, there's just all of us girls, and we're like, you know, somebody throws a bad shot, and we're like, hee, oh no. Like, you know.
well, it's safe to say that you guys can enjoy the camaraderie of each other, but yet still be professional and sports fanatics at the same time. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
you can
we're all
enjoy the
throwing
slightly
different
lighter
discs. We're all
side.
recommending our different companies to the other person. Like if somebody messes up, Kona's like, should have thrown an AJ Destroyer, and you know, if Abby misses a putt, and like P1X's, just saying, like, you know. So it's kind of funny.
Is it going to get super competitive? I mean, we're talking about seeing 3 or 4 brands represented on most of these lead cards these days. Same in the women's division. It sounds like there could be quite a battle.
I hope so. I think that's secretly what everybody wants. I know Kona is like, she's a really good competitor. But everybody right now is good at differentiating competition versus practice. You know, like she was going out there preparing for her first time playing open at the GBO. So she would throw a bad shot. And of course, she would prefer to have thrown a good one. So she'd throw again and focus. But then there was times when we were laughing or, you know, talking about something. But then there was times when she would outdrive me and I would be kind of like, oh, she throws so stinking far. And then I would outputt her and she'd be like, or like, you know, Abby would like hit the perfect line because it's Abby. And then, you know, Rebecca Cox would just like blast all of us and drive way past all of us. So we all have our little things that we're like, you know, it's like fun.
Well, and you're learning, I'm sure, all of you are relatively, newer to the highly competitive scene. So it's great that you guys are still able to learn from one another and have a good time with it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
But women's disc golf is cool. I think there needs to be a lot more social media push from women. I think Sarah Holcomb's been doing a really good job this year. I can just name drop her. I've talked to her a couple times about how it's kind of outside of her comfort zone. So I'm like really supportive of every post that she makes and just like making sure to share it. And I've seen her like gain followers from it. But I don't know, that, in my opinion, to grow the sport would be a huge help because that's what helped me. You know, when I met Paige, I could go onto her Facebook at the time and follow her and keep up with her life and where she's at. And I didn't even know that there was like a tour. So I didn't know much about disc golf back then. So it helped me keep up with it. And it's just, it gives your fans a way to follow you without, you know, going too far into your personal life, I think.
Well, you can choose what you want to share. And to further your point, I think we're seeing Valerie Jenkins post a little bit more. Sarah Holcomb seems to be posting a little bit more. Paige, whether it's under her own account or in working with DD, she's posting a lot more.
Yeah.
Abby, who you've referenced a number of times, is posting quite a bit about both her life inside and outside of disc golf. And I think that really kind of helps give everyone a little insight to being somewhat of a weekend warrior, but, you know, the rest of the life that she leads and just how dedicated she is to all of it with school and work and playing. And then Kona, who, we mentioned and had a few months ago. She's obviously out there. It seems like she's playing golf every day, all day, every day. God bless her. She's playing a ton, but she's putting her golf out there and the people that she's playing with and the things she's learning and can share. And she's certainly become quite an advocate for Innova and for women in disc golf. So
yeah, sure.
Just naming a few of the things that I'm seeing out there, and I think it's great. That it should hopefully continue to flourish and expand from there. So, and sometimes you seem to be working a camera when some of these guys are out there challenging one another. Have you found a comfortable role in that? In what is it, Instagram Live usually more often than not?
Yeah, I'm really bad at holding the camera still, but I've embraced it. Yeah, so we do Instagram Live sometimes just to spice things up. Sometimes I think like when we're at Wintertime Open, John Tompkins wanted to do it just because he's Supreme Flight. So sometimes it helps him get some followers and then, make some sales, which is fair. But then it ended up just kind of putting the pressure on, I think maybe you a little bit, just getting you into that mentality of like having a crowd watch you, even though you have like ice veins, which is crazy. But, you know, it kind of just, I remember Kona even doing it to me, you know, in Vegas when we were practicing. She was like, here's Hannah lining up a shot. And I was like, oh, yeah, definitely taking this really seriously right now. Oh, absolutely. Let me put my putter away. Hold on. Wait, let me get my driver. Like, you know, just,
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it's just a fun switch, and then it's fun to just let people in on what you're doing, and they can ask questions, and, you know, we can answer like the silly questions like, is there an Adidas symbol shaved into the back of your head? Like,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
Yeah, she told me, she didn't tell me until it was like this big on my head. She's like, hey, you got a big bald spot on your head. I think you should know about it.
Yeah. Whoops.
It's tough to bring up when, you know, your fiance is going bald.
Yeah.
And it's starting in a really weird spot.
Awkward.
I mean,
Okay, but I Googled like male pattern baldness before I even told him.
Uh-huh.
Is that awful?
Was that
Yeah.
then and Adidas? Did you put those in the same search?
He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. Hi.
Don't worry
Yeah.
about me. So I have to ask, and there's a lot of things coming in from the board, lots of different questions, including, can you give us a super quick rundown on your bag? I don't need to know, we don't need to know every detail, but just quickly run through your molds.
Somebody
me to do
asked
it?
me this the other day at the, it's so embarrassing. So, yeah, Paul knows my bag better than
All
I
right,
do.
Paul,
which
run through it real
is
quick, what she's
surprising
got
to
in
me,
there.
But
Yeah,
it makes me look really bad.
She's still learning all the names, you know, from Discmania to Innova. So I kind of just try to relate her. I'm like, this is your boss, this is your destroyer, this is that. So I mean, her main two drivers are the DD2. That's like her boss replacement, you know, in the Blizzard plastic, and then she has a DDX, which is kind of like her turn replacement. And then she has the PD2 in the lighter Blizzard, which is still really overstable. I threw hers, and it was like a destroyer, like an overstable destroyer. So those are her three distance drivers that she's working with right now. And then she has a FD for her Leopard replacement, and then she has a TD for her Roadrunner Sidewinder replacement, and then there's that other fairway drivers that she's still working with. We don't know what's going to go in and out, whether it's like a CD or a CD2 or FD2. She has an FD3 for sure.
These names.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you just gotta kind of like put them together with your Innova stuff.
Innova went like with Innova. I was and I threw Discmania, so I
think it's the
can
pictures
use
that
that
got
then.
her.
But with Innova, it was like birds and more birds, and then like other animals,
some
like a leopard.
animals.
I'm like, okay, I can remember that. A
Yeah.
leopard.
She's like, I really
And now
like
it's
that
like-
Puma thing.
Now
Yeah.
it's just like the whole alphabet.
Yeah,
It's
just like CD is
I'm like
control driver,
CD,
TD's
7.
turning driver, FD fairway driver. So it's a slow process, but
well, I think that's actually a really good thing to tell people, because someone like, you know, even myself might not be that familiar with the Discmania discs.
okay.
You
Yeah,
d-
here I'll run through it.
You don't necessarily know what all the letters are. I remember when I first got a Frenzy, and it's like a Discmania, like, what is this? And
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so there's PD. PD is power driver, so there's like PD, PD2. So there's power driver. She has the PD in her bag. That's like her Thunderbird replacement. And then PD2 is just the destroyer. CD is control driver. So they have a CD, CD2, CD3, I think just came out. And then they have the DD, which is a distance driver. DD2 is like her boss replacement. And then DDX. X is kind of they tweak the mold, but it's still the same kind of disc.
Mhm.
And then FD is fairway, TD is turning driver, and then MD is mid-range.
Yep.
And then P is of course putter, so like P1, P2, P3. And I think that's all of them. And then they have like the GM for Gremlin. But yeah, I think that's every disc they have. So
Yeah.
basically the two letters are just like fairway driver, distance driver, control driver. So it is easy if you can kind of put two and two together.
okay.
Well, there you have it.
I think that helps out a lot of people that maybe weren't as familiar with the naming scheme as, you know, as the traditional name it after, you know, an animal or
Yeah,
A
exactly. And it's
mythological.
like cars, you know, like Mercedes has a lot of letters. I don't know what those letters mean, but
Yeah.
I'm sure people out there do. And then they'll say it and like, oh, that makes a lot of sense.
no, and I get it. Like, just you know, in every industry you run into that, because you'll look at the mixing boards I was looking at online, and it's like the 12V762, and you're like, every one of those numbers means something to somebody,
Yeah.
and
It's
they're looking for specific
like
ones.
Mercedes AMG. Like if you didn't know what AMG was, it's two people's names, and it's like, or three people's names, and they're forever long. But
Exactly.
yeah, so I mean, as far as mid range, she's got the MD, MD2, MD3, and then she's putting with the P1X right now, and throws the P2. So that's basically her whole bag right now.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Well, you see we did plenty for all your lines here tonight.
That's right.
Anything else that we haven't? Well, let me ask.
Let's talk about the big post that was made just 3 days ago from Nate, about how obviously he's not going to be on there. How is that going to change your? I mean, how's that going to change your tour? What's the biggest impact for you?
Yeah, recap the post first in
Have
case
more
somebody
room.
doesn't know what we're talking about.
I have so much more room now. So basically, Nate and I have toured for the last 3 years together. We've been doing McBeth challenges, tournaments, traveling, all sorts of things together. And it's officially become time where he's a man now, and he's
Wow.
You're saying
I thought the beard did it.
you're
But
saying you made Nate Sexton a man.
wow.
A little weird, but okay.
The Sexy Beast Man Tour.
So he's you know, he's got the wife, he's got the daughter on the way, and it's just time for him to, you know, his wife's in medical school, and when they have the baby, she's gonna have to take time off, and she talked to some of her professors and stuff like that, and they're like, why not just take a year? Like, that's a good idea, take a year.
Mhm.
And while they're taking that year off, he's gonna get his own trailer, and they're gonna go on the road together. You know, they're gonna live in that trailer for a year at least, and do their own thing. You know, go to their own tournaments, go to run their own tournaments, do all sorts of stuff. So they're essentially just gonna live as a family together, and just have the room, because if there's no way we could do that in my trailer. So
You don't want no babies in your trailer.
Yeah, no. So they're gonna pack up, and they're gonna hit the road together, and be a family, and they're gonna play, I'm sure, a lot of the bigger events, be at a lot of the bigger events. But yeah, we'll still do McBeast challenges, I'm sure, and stuff like that, but we'll just have two separate rigs now.
Okay. Will be as fancy.
It'll be probably, theirs will be an RV. They're looking at RV, and they'll probably be about 25 feet, I'm guessing. So kind of more like the Discmania size.
I think Jomez has one for sale. So.
Yeah.
I'm selling it.
Ooh. Poor guys.
Ow. Yeah, about that.
So they'll be on the road next year, and as far as Hannah and I, it'll probably be my brother will still be with me, and my roommate, actually, he just went to bed. Nick Carl. He'll be traveling at the end of the year with us as well, and he'll be in Nate's room, and yeah, we'll finish out the year together, and then next year I don't know if there'll be anyone else new or what the complete plan will be, but I'll definitely be traveling. So
Okay. Well, it sounds like some changes, understandably so. And those who aren't familiar, yes, of course, Nate Sexton's wife is pregnant, and they're expecting near the end of June. And Nate has made it very public that he does not plan, he won't be competing in the Pro World Championships, which this year is taking place in June, as opposed to the typical late July or early August.
yeah, he said put the asterisk now.
Yeah, so that is the plan, and we wish Nate and his wife, of course, the best of luck. So pretty crazy. So you guys mentioned Kona Piste. You're flying out when?
Saturday.
And one has to already assume it's for sure going to go better than your travels to Australia?
Yeah, there's no visa required, so yes.
Okay, so things should go a little bit more smoothly. What do you think? Tell us about, kind of preview that event for us, as it's the next stop on the Disc Golf World Tour, which is the second stop of this year's World Tour, obviously Australia being the first. So give us a quick preview of that.
Yeah, Kona Piste it's in the Czech Republic, so it's a really beautiful place. You know, that Prague is one of the older cities left that's still untouched, you know, due to the wars and stuff that went on out there. So really old looking, amazing city. And the tournament itself is probably about 45 minutes outside of Prague, and it's on these rolling hills, and it's got the castle on it, which is incredible to see. You know, a literal castle of Franz Ferdinand, and it's got a living bear in the moat. Like they have a moat, like a dry moat, and it's got a bear living in there. So that's really cool to see, and it's right next to hole one. Like it's right there. So
Please say a pun. Please say a pun right now.
I'm
I
refraining.
can
Please.
barely wait for you to make a pun.
I am refraining. I'm holding back. I'm intently listening and refraining. Go on.
so it's one of the longer courses we play all year, if not the longest. It's one of those courses that it's so fun to play because it has no out of bounds really. So it's just you in the course, not worrying about the out of bounds, and if you throw a bad shot, you have to play it from there. So incredibly long course, but really fun course to play. And then it's in a small town, so we all get to like hang out with each other and hang out with a lot of the volunteers. All stay at the same hotel. They come from like 4 hours away because it's the only tournament in their area, so they travel a ways to come. And then we all are in the same area, so we all get to interact and play games with each other and like putting games and barbecues and stuff. I remember that stuff there, and it's a really good time. So.
Okay, I was just going to go out to Disc Golf World Tour. It talks about being taking place in 9 days and 9 hours from now. I was going to look at the registration and player list before I find it or click on it. What do you know?
I think the biggest names that'll be there are me, Nate, Ricky, Simon, Eagle, I'm sure KJ, and then I'm sure Posse will be there, Yale, and then some European names. But as far as Americans, I think it's those 6 or 7 or 6 that I named.
So I have to just then follow that up with the all too obvious, why not more Americans, and how do we get them there?
It's an A tier. So there's one reason. It's not a major. It's the only Disc Golf World Tour that is not a major. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is with the World Tour is it's not, he doesn't run the World Tours to be like, all right, we're bringing a lot of Americans. This is to showcase disc golf around the world. It's to showcase players that we don't see, you know, names that we don't hear. And it's to put disc golf on the map in these countries that if it weren't for these tournaments, we would never hear of disc golf in the Czech Republic. We would never hear of disc golf in Australia or Finland and Sweden. So I think these world tours are to showcase the talents of the European players and showcase disc golf in other countries that we would never see otherwise. So I don't think the main draw is let's bring Americans here. It's really to showcase the talent of the players from around the world.
Okay, and yeah, I'll have to come back to the site and kind of look for some more details later. I guess you say it's on the PDG.
Yeah, the PDG has the updated players registration and some of the names that people might not recognize nearly as much. You've got Yale, Leo.
Is Silver on there?
I don't see him.
Okay.
No, he's not.
So
not Timu.
After a sort by rating, we see McBeth, Wysocki, Lizotte, KJ Naibo, Nate Sexton, Eagle McMahon, and then Yale Store and Seppu Payu. So those are what you're looking at in terms of the top 6 or 8 competitors there. And overall, as you said, I see 4 or 5, roughly a half dozen or so from the U.S. overall. And what's the open field total?
133. It's a huge open field.
Pretty huge open field. So,
yep.
Very cool. All right. Well, that's it should be pretty exciting. Now, did you? I have to think back. Did you win? I wasn't there last year. Did you win?
No.
Last 3-way playoff.
Yeah, Simon won, didn't he?
Yeah, it was funny because like KJ and I didn't know he was that close. Like that's that course though. That course doesn't have that OB, so you don't gain a lot of strokes. There's not many 2-stroke swings. So we didn't really know he was right there until we saw how much he celebrated when he made the last putt. We're like, why is he so happy for 3rd place? Like, what's going on? So it was really incredible because, he the way that he finished that round and then won the playoff. Yeah, it was fun. So.
Sounds like something you would do.
What?
Well, win in an exciting fashion, but it wasn't you this time. Why not?
No, it was surprising that KJ or I did not birdie that last hole. So, but it is a really nice course because it keeps all the scores really close, and you really don't know who's going to win until the final final hole, to be honest.
So, this is a little bit more of a generic question, but now's always a good time to ask: what are some of the rumors or just flat out stupid things you guys would love to dispel? Any misinformation that's in the world of disc golf, whether it's on the course or off the course, personally or company wise?
Yeah.
What's
Let me go get my
what's the
journal.
dumbest thing you heard today that's just not true? That's how I like to ask it.
Engagement does not make you worse.
Oh, yeah. So you've already.
No, I already dispelled that. I said no longer girlfriend curse.
I remember that.
You have a fiance now.
Yeah, now it's a female fiance curse.
Well, that could be curse. Isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Correct.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, Johnny V, and then
See?
Terry was like, what about the fiance curse? And I was like, crap.
There's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well,
So she didn't.
CPO.
She didn't drive Nate out of the RV. She's not. She's not splitting you guys up.
Yeah,
Okay, that's.
No, it's the baby.
Dispel.
It's
Yes, it was the baby.
all me.
Oh.
And then
I
CBO was her fault.
oh yeah.
well, yeah.
It got canceled because of
Most
Hannah.
thunderstorms and rain. Yeah.
I was caddying. Well, I was supposed to caddy for Hannah Leatherman on the last day, and when Nate was dropping me off at the course that morning, he was leaving to go do commentary really early in the morning, and I was leaving to go caddy for her, and he dropped me off, and this huge lightning strike occurred, and I looked at him and I was like, this is going to somehow be my fault in the disc golf community. This is somehow going to be my fault. And he was like, haha, have fun. But yeah. So.
Okay. Anything else that's out there that can be
Yes.
addressed?
So I am going to Kona Peace Day because Paul bought all my ticket and everything for my birthday, because my birthday is May 13th.
Okay.
And then I signed up because he was like, you should sign up. Like, you played Vegas and you're going to be there anyway. Like, why don't you play? And then that was around the time when I was thinking about doing it. And then Discmania happened. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I paid for everything. They didn't pay for me to go there. There will probably be a red carpet, but I mean, that's just no, I'm just kidding.
There better be.
But yeah, I heard that one a lot. A lot of people were in my DMs like, how did you get UC to pay for your trip to Europe? And I was like, I don't know. I was not aware that he did that. So.
Yeah, that's news to me. Someone had asked, was the Adidas Outdoor Innova promotion code leaked, or was that a rumor? A lot of people could go out and use a code that you, I think, spoke of, correct? Or other people at Innova spoke of and could take an advantage of a deal, or no?
I think someone guessed it, the promo code, and then they leaked it out. And then I guess it kind of leaked out, but then we talked to them and they said, yeah, just do it, and then we're just going to cancel that code. So I think they ended up letting it go for like maybe a week or a few days, and then they completely cut it off.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was originally just for Innova players, but someone might have leaked it out, or someone guessed it. So
fair enough. Okay.
They kind of took that away.
Of course, people. What's the code? What's the code?
It doesn't matter now. It's probably a different code.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
try McBeast. Just try that all day, or try
With
Hannah.
a 3.
Yeah, or Hannah the Curse, and one of those two will work. I bet you for.
That's kind of like that's intense. I'm kind of all right with that.
Wow.
She has some badass, mojo coming around.
Yeah, for sure.
As a short, blue-eyed, blonde-haired girl, you need a little edge, okay? So if it comes in my name, it's fine.
Okay, well, as long as that works for you. Any other fun rumors or crazy? You guys have to see we're in the media, and I see dumb stuff every day. I can't imagine the stuff you guys also see being usually like the subject of some of these things that I see. Anything else that's dumb and worth dispelling?
Honestly, I haven't read into it a lot. A lot
Probably
of people
better.
think that Nate Sexton's retiring and
Yeah.
not playing disc golf anymore. So we saw that a lot. But he is obviously going to be playing. If not, he'll be playing more because he'll be on the road all the time.
Okay.
So, I don't know as far as rumors. I don't really follow it as much. I try not to get in that stuff.
Oh, a lot of people were saying that you're switching to Discmania now.
Oh.
Like, I'm just going to steal you. like as if I was like, hey,
Yeah.
It's really neat over here.
That's
so,
all.
you're gonna throw Discmania now. Hee hee hee. Like,
If that's all it takes, then
Yeah.
And I think 90% of the disc golf community thought she was going to go Innova if she ever got sponsored. But I think the opportunity with Discmania is right now a lot better for her.
yeah. So
Overall. So that's kind of what made that decision. And then working with a smaller group will be a lot easier, I think, for her and more beneficial for everyone.
okay.
But I will say that I was supposed to caddy for Hannah on the final day, and Hannah and I went to Costa Rica together. Hannah Leatherman and I. We were bunk mates, so we got pretty close. You know, I never really got to talk to her. And then when Eagles Wings went over to Costa Rica to build a disc golf course, I went. So that's what I was talking about. And when I went to sit with her, she like kind of was overwhelmed looking. So I talked to her, and just really was really cool for me to get like the inside perspective on what exactly an athlete goes through when there's a rain delay or a weather delay, because this was her first shot to win her first NT. You know, she had played NTs before, but she had never been in contention. And she played amazing golf at Jones and really put herself up there. And so now she woke up that morning and was like, I know exactly what I have to do. Let's go make it happen. Showed up on time, was warming up, was all prepared to go. And then somebody came in and said, however they said it, 30-minute delay, there's lightning. So she said, okay. And that's when I got there, and she like let me know, and she was like, I'm not really sure what to do now. I'm all like mentally prepared. And I think it's exhausting. You know, it can be exhausting on someone to just, you know, to think about it all the time. So I just tried to take her mind off of it. 15 to 20 minutes go by, and there's another, you know, I think it was Marty that came down at that point, was like, another 30-minute delay. We're sorry, ladies. Like, we'll let you know it's going on soon. And she just like looked at me and was like, do you think that this is going to get canceled? Like, is this usually what happens? And I was just like, I'm not really sure, but okay, like, let's walk through what would happen. And then she was kind of like, I'm just tired. Like, would we play it off? Like, I'm not sure I would want to play it off, like, not in this weather. And it changed my opinion on canceling rounds and postponing things, because I think, I don't know, I think before then I just kind of thought that they should just always postpone it. There should always be an opportunity to play. There should always be, it should always be pushed to the next day. It should just automatically happen. But I think that after talking to her and after being able to learn like exactly what an athlete goes through when they're told, hey, we know that you have this super important thing to do that you've never done before, or you're in this super intense situation, but we need you to be in that situation, and we're not sure when you're going to come out of it. And then when you do come out of it, you need to play and be 100% at your best. And that's hard. And that's kind of the job of an athlete. But I think, you know, as somebody who's just getting into the sport, and I think at the beginning when you sign up for an event, you should know specifically if that event has plans to have an extra day. Like if the GBO, if their thing was like, hey, we're the GBO, we're a 4-day tournament or a 3-day tournament, but we're going to end on Saturday, be prepared to stay Sunday if there's a rain delay. Then she, you know, I was talking to her about it. She said, so as somebody who plays disc golf and who also has a job, Hannah said she would still sign up, but she would know to take work off for that Monday. And then she would know just in case. And then if not, you know, at least she knew going into it. So it's just, I think maybe that's something that could happen. I didn't want to take to social media to it with it, because I think then I would get a whole bunch of things that I have to read through. But
I mean, I think you'll.
But I think if they went in and the players knew ahead of time that, oh, that's the GBO, or oh, that's the Vibram, and if there's bad weather, I need to be prepared to stay an extra day. I can't play that tournament, and that's just how it is.
But basically, you want a disclaimer saying it could happen.
Absolutely.
Plan for it to potentially happen, and I think event by event we'll have to determine just that. And then players.
Yeah, and I think that I think they made the right decision after watching all of those women and just look at the stress on their faces. You know, and all the things that they were relaying to me, I think they made the right decision. But I think that I don't know.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, it's all about communication and making sure the information's out there. And we're going to see changes probably in the next year with some events, not every event, because a lot of people are screaming. We're screaming about that for the Nick Hyde, but ultimately that was an A tier.
An A tier that was finishing on a Sunday.
And maybe it's not for all A tiers. Maybe they just do for NTs and majors or whatever. And
I think at this point in time,
maybe just majors.
I think at this point in time, everybody has access to knowing the weather. Like, we're not waking up every morning looking at the sky and being like, oh, all right, now I'll prepare. Like, we know going into it, it's going to be 55, there's going to be thunderstorms, and it's going to be raining. And yes, it's Kansas in the spring, so a huge gust of wind could come through and push it away, and it's sunshine and rainbows. But for the most part, everybody knew that the weather was going to be bad. And Hannah even relayed to me, she said she was preparing to not play that final day. Like, she knew that was going to be an option, and that's why she played so hard the day before. Because she knew, she was like, there's a chance that this could get cut early. I'm an athlete, and my job is to be in first. My job is to play my best and try to be in first. And she said, that's what kind of made her make that push. And that's what he said earlier, was like, he had the lead and he played a little bit more conservatively than he normally would, because
with 1,000 people, there's no way any delay. If you have an hour delay, there's no way you're finishing.
And we all went, we all woke up on Thursday and played, and then, everybody's talking about what the next day is going to look like. So it's just, I don't know. I think that you should be prepared, and that you should kind of know ahead of time, like, all right, there's not going to be good weather. We should probably try to make more of an effort to, sustain a lead before then. And if you can't, then don't, show up to somebody's Facebook with pitchforks and torches and demand a third day, so you can have another chance. Like, I don't know. But again, that's me speaking as somebody who's just joining the competitive side of the sport.
You're sponsored by Discmania.
Oh, yeah. Totally qualified.
Now, we hear you, and there is no easy solution, which is something we kind of talked about quite a bit extensively earlier. There's no perfect solution that's going to appease everyone. So, all right, guys. I don't know. Do we have anything else that you guys need to share? I think we've dispelled a few stupid comments and rumors out there, but is there anything else open mic for you guys to share with us and the rest of the disc golf community?
I see a lot of people asking about your putt, Paul, whether or not straddle versus...
I'm working on it.
All right, so you've officially heard it here. He's working on it. You can stop asking about it. He's someone was asking about you. Did you film another in the bag this past weekend?
That's the thing. So here, I'll start with the putt. So
has your bag changed since you filmed it?
Yeah. So like putting is, it's just a timing thing. Like, I know how to putt, I know how to do it, but then it's doing the timing, and it's just practice. It's going to take a lot of practice to get it where I feel comfortable, at least more comfortable than where I do with the straddle. So it'll take a lot of time, and it's just like one of those things. If I miss a putt, I'm like, oh shoot, my confidence is rattled. To where if I miss a straddle, I'm like, all right, I've been working on this. To where if I miss it in that stance, it's just a straight shot to the confidence. So it'll take a little bit until I go back to it fully. And then as far as in the bag, my bag switches so often. I mean, you lose 11 discs, you basically have a new bag.
I was going to say, did you film the in the bag before Olpe or after Olpe? Because
So I did, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So a lot of the discs that'll be in the bag will be a little different, but they're all the same molds,
Sure.
So when it comes out, it'll be at least 50% the same. But and then luckily a lot of my discs, when I lose them and replace them, they're the same color, same stamp, same stuff.
Sure.
So you can't tell the difference. But yeah, so there should be an in the bag coming out. I don't know when. It takes a while with the graphics that they do, and then the tournaments that they're always covering. The tournament comes first. Got to get that stuff out first. So, but yeah, new in the bag was filmed. I don't know when it'll be out.
And who filmed it, just so everyone can...
Joe Miz.
Okay, Joe Miz Productions. So, because they're relentless on the board, as you already know sometimes. Champs versus Chumps. I'm going to spoil it and assume you guys didn't win because everybody else wants to talk about it on the board, or what happened?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
let
it
hey,
seems to be a
we'll be
hot
doing
question on the board, so I had to ask here.
we're doing a Champs vs Chumps in Santa Cruz as well.
Okay.
So they gotta keep an eye out for that.
Sometime
And
around the Masters.
huh?
Sometime around the Masters.
Yeah, the Masters Cup right
Okay.
after. I don't know if I should say the name because it might give away too
Yeah,
much.
just
But yeah, we'll release the name
Okay.
as soon as we can.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else out here on the board that's got things of
Yeah, I
of
don't have the
value.
comments up, so I can't read anything.
No, it's probably better that way.
Yeah,
People decided to some of our favorite smashies or smashies decided to run off the rails and become jerks, but I think we got it dialed back in. Paul, when and at what distance would you use a putter for an approach?
It depends. I mean, I sometimes I throw a putter at like hole one at Opie. What is that, 360?
Mm-hmm.
Or I could throw a putter 80 feet, depending on the height and distance. So it depends. It's all situational.
Okay. And here's a question which some know the answer to, some don't, so I'll ask it. Are you and Ricky, would you guys consider yourself friends off the course, or does the rivalry, or is it a rivalry between you guys, and are you just respectable competitors?
We're definitely competitors. We're friendly here and there, but it's just like there's no difference between Rick and I hanging out versus some other disc golfer hanging out. I don't tend to hang out with a lot of disc golfers off the course, but if we're like at the block party and we walk into each other, we might say, "Hey, what's up?" and talk a little bit, but nobody in the disc golf world am I really super close with besides Nate. Nate's probably the closest one I am with for sure, and then like Yuli and I are friendly, but other than that.
Sure.
That's just yeah, Germ. We're all friendly, but you're not gonna see me going out with them on a Saturday night.
And that's one of the things we saw Terry out almost every night at the different events that were happening around, and obviously working, sure. Last time
the Smashbox captions like
Yeah.
somebody keeps handing Terry beer and we talk about disc golf.
It was part of sponsorship. I had to.
you had to partake.
I don't usually, but I had to this time.
But what I was gonna say was that you don't usually see Paul out there at a lot of those events, and I know you're not a drinker, but even just going and hanging out with the people or whatever, so to speak, that are at doing these things, is that something that you just you're focused on the event at that point, or?
I usually seem to do things at odd times, anyways. Like I'll be at dinner at like 4 or 5 o'clock rather than the 6:30, 7:30, 8 o'clock rush. So I mean I still go to these places like Radius. I was at Radius almost every night, but it just wasn't the time that everyone else was there. Yeah, I mean I went to the Fly Mart. I was at the Fly Mart, where it's at the convention center almost the whole time. I probably would have been at the block party had I been there. But I'm not in that huge group of disc golfers that are out there drinking, being loud, and just, being a center of attention. I just try to stay low.
Bull riding.
Yeah, I didn't do any bull riding.
Then you didn't attend the GBO, let's face it. All right?
I was at Radius when that was going on, so.
Oh, okay.
I avoided the crowd.
We went to the Fly Mart, though. That actually ended up being really great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
We were for a while. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was definitely an impromptu move that, again, the city of Emporia and the entire GBO staff, Doug and Rusco and everyone, it was a great audible that they had to make, and it turned out really well, as I've kind of grown to expect from that crew.
Like I said, it wasn't hot and smelly.
Yes, which is something I said over and over again. When you go to Fly Marts, I've been to at least 20 of them at Worlds, 20 plus, and they're usually hot and stinky, and it was neither, so...
Be mandatory you bring your own air freshener.
Everybody should just have to wear them is what should have to happen at those Fly Marts.
That Cam Todd wall art was really cool. Like the boxes and what was that? They were just mystery boxes.
So there was 96, technically 100 overall, but there was 96 mystery boxes, and I did an amazing time lapse, which I should bring up and make available. It was just that it was I guess a posterized version of a Cam Todd painting, and so it was 12 by 8, and they were all stuffed with various things, everything from baskets to bags to discs, and I think there were 4 different baskets given away, a couple different bags, a Zucca cart. So there was over $4,000 worth of stuff in these mystery boxes, and then also one of the actual prizes was the Cam Todd original piece of art.
Oh, wow.
So it was, which was valued, I believe, at $150. So a lot of people bought anywhere from 1 to 8 of these boxes, and then you open it up, and you had, obviously, it was a mystery as to what was in there, and everybody walked away with some really amazing stuff. I grabbed 4 boxes myself, and with one of them, I got discs, I think, in 3 of them, and then in one of them, I won a portable basket myself. So,
Wow.
yeah, very, very cool. It was an awesome idea. Miles over at Paragon, he worked in conjunction with the Disc Golf Pro Tour with Steve Dodge, and I'll release that time lapse maybe in the next day or so of the wall. It disappeared in 14 minutes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was gone.
Line form instantly.
Yeah, there was a huge line, and they were really cool. They didn't allow anyone to do it before 5 o'clock when the Fly Mart officially opened, and I think it was a 14-minute ordeal, and all 96 or all 100 boxes were gone just like that.
I never saw that.
Yeah, it was very, very cool to
You had
see.
4, I see.
Yes,
See how it works
I
out.
didn't mess around. I got 4 of them, and I was, well, I mean,
You didn't use the company card, did you?
so I got 4 of them. And it worked out really well, so it was a lot of fun. And Cam Todd's artwork is second to none out there, and he's always coming up with new stuff, which gives everybody an opportunity. So I feel like we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't at least ask the most obvious question of, is there a wedding date, and will SmashBoxx be broadcasting it live?
Oh man, no, there's no exact date set yet. We've been talking about the spring, but we don't know if it's this upcoming spring or the following spring. It just depends on how things settle down, So I'm here in Virginia right now, and got to figure that out first, and then yeah. Well.
I don't. So I grew up in New England. I grew up in the fall and the winter, and I don't want to have a fall and winter wedding. And with disc golf, those are the most convenient types of weddings that you can have.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we've already ruled out having a destination wedding. So SmashBoxx will not be going to like Costa Rica or the tropics, unfortunately. But yeah, what he said, we're trying to figure out everything first. But I think it would be fun if you did just like an open
We're gonna Facebook Live.
like an open Skype live, and everybody that attended the Skype conversation had to dress like in a suit and tie and like a dress and everything. I think that would be great.
There you go.
Okay.
We can start booting people that don't do it, and we'll have a
Like just get them out of here.
As long as there's good reception,
We can do that.
Cell reception.
We can
Make it happen.
But yeah, we actually, Jomez was like, teasing at us saying that they would volunteer to do our videography, and then
Yeah, they said they know some guys. So.
yeah, so. And then Overstable, I made a joke about Juan having to be our wedding photographer, and just
Yeah.
it was
We're
fun.
lucky to know a lot of people.
I was just gonna say, you guys know some people that might make some special exceptions for you and considerations. So
but
keep that in mind.
Nothing's set in stone yet, so.
All right, fair enough. I know enough people have certainly asked throughout the last few weeks since the announcement. So, all
But,
right.
one last thing before I leave, or before you ask us to leave politely.
Mm.
I want more women at these Champs versus Chumps challenges, because there's like none, and the women that go are disc golfers, but they only watch. So, when the signups happen, or like the raffle signups happen for this next Champs versus Chumps in Santa Cruz, where are my ladies at?
It's a lot more fun to watch Ian get beat by, not just men, but women too. So
Yeah. So, yeah.
I totally agree. Why aren't more women coming out?
There was probably about 5 to 10 that were out there, but none of them played. Oh,
Yeah,
one
none of them
one
threw.
little girl threw.
Oh yeah,
A
that's
little
right.
14-year-old girl
A
played.
14-year-old girl threw. She was a beast too. That was good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. But yeah, definitely need more women. I think it's just so new,
Yeah.
The idea of like women who are starting in the sport being filmed and then like,
Yeah.
commented on by Nate. They're not like,
Who knows?
It's
It might lead to some sponsorships. 14-year-old girl throwing dynamic.
yeah,
So.
wink.
Yeah, well,
with
I
a
agree.
whale sax hat on and a whale sack on her bag. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's opportunities out there, and we'd love to see more women competing in all of our events, exhibition rounds or otherwise. I think we can all agree we'd like to see more of that. So,
Yeah. Cool.
alrighty, guys. Well, we know it's an hour later, so it's after midnight on your side of the country. We certainly appreciate you guys joining us. Thanks for the insights and feedback about the GBO, and of course for the future plans here in 2017. And we wish you the best of luck as you travel overseas to Kona Piste, and we'll probably catch up with you sometime after that.
Awesome. Thank you, Terry. See you, Johnny.
Bye, guys.
All
see
right,
ya.
have
Thanks,
a great night.
guys.
Thank you, guys. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to Hannah,
Whoop. There we
as
go.
Paul trying to make another putt there, but Paul, McBeth, and Hannah for joining us here today. Lots of good insight. If you didn't get up to date on plenty, I don't know if you just must not have been listening there. I think we covered every major topic that needed to be covered.
Let's see. Putting, hair, GBO, marriage,
Bull
Nate.
riding. Nate. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. I think we hit the handful.
yeah.
I think
at
we're good.
least her new sponsorship,
Yes,
engagement.
yes.
Really, I think we hit everything we needed to hit. So, of course, thank you to them for joining us as always. Hey, Daniel, glad you're on the
I'm going to
chat.
take this opportunity. We have a lot of people on the board.
We do.
And for those of you that are just joining us, you can support us at patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV if you enjoy watching us interview some of the pros. And we are out there, and you can be entered in our weekly raffle that we do every after show. So that's Patreon, patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Thanks for watching. And what else we got going on?
Well, I think that's about all we have for specifics here for our regular show. I will go ahead and echo some thoughts I saw on the board, and I also saw it myself earlier on Facebook today. Many of you have either met and or come to know Carl Cubbage. He goes by Cubby on the boards. He suffered what looked to be a pretty serious condition today. I believe 911 was called. I believe that he's found himself in the hospital and or some surgeries and some other stuff. So Cubby, who has I think hundreds and hundreds of aces, he plays a very short course, usually or frequently in the dark out on the East Coast. Super nice guy, one of the most friendly guys to be around. I believe he also does frequently does commentary on a production out on the East Coast, Disc Golf Monthly. I know he's sat in on that for many years. Again, super great guy. We're certainly wishing and hoping and praying the best for him. I know there's been a number of posts on Facebook today, and I can't say that I've gotten any other updates recently, but I did see that he had some things happening today. So
Yep.
His last post earlier today that had come from him or a couple days ago was about talking about him playing out at the course, and he used to record again all of his aces, and there's always a funny debate about the aces and the length of them, being 100 200 feet, and
Yeah, they're called Cubby aces.
and whether or not your fifth throw counts, and all of that aside, it doesn't matter. He's been an amazing ambassador, and he's just an awesome human and individual with a lot of love for disc golf. So whatever's happening, we certainly hope that everything works out for the best, and we wish you a very quick and speedy recovery, pal. Yeah, we're definitely thoughts are with you, buddy. Thoughts and prayers. So, all right. Yes, lots of it out there. Yes, before it was okay. So, I don't know that we have too many other specifics. We'll have some probably random chatter in the after show. I was trying to think of as it seems like the things that got me most worked up were just really the knowledgeless, if that's a term, people that talk a lot about the ending of the GBO, frustration there. I'm pretty much over that as well. We kind of summarize it. There's no perfect answer or solution for all of it. On a somewhat still exciting note, I also had a quick conversation with the PDGA today talking about the possibilities of live coverage for the World Championships. And I know that maybe sound all too obvious, but with going to Fort Gordon, which is going to be this very demanding course for the players this year, and then also being out at the W.R. Jackson course at the International Disc Golf Center, maybe more than anywhere else as of recently, our signals may be challenged, and or it just may flat out not be possible for live coverage at the World Championships. So I'll say this right now, 2 weeks from today, really, I'll be heading down to the USDG, or to the IDGC, sorry. I'll be heading down there, and we're going to do a very thorough on-site inspection of what is possible and what's not. We've got our fingers crossed. We're hoping for the best, but it may certainly dictate how coverage and what coverage in terms of live is brought to you for the 2017 World Championships. So that's just something that we're talking about and trying to get figured out. And I'd like to thank Robert McCall from DD. Not only was he a massive asset in being at the event this last weekend and everything that he did and all the Dynamic Disc staff and team, but Robert McCall went above and beyond and actually helped me out with a favor, trying to get a little bit of equipment sent back to me today so that we could perform this testing in a few weeks. So as if we didn't thank and applaud enough DD, their whole staff, and Rusco and Bobby Brown and Doug Bierkes and everyone else enough. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys did, and thank you, Robert. Speaking of that,
okay,
we never touched on just yet, and maybe it's how we open the after show, but we didn't touch on the top winners from the Pick'em League.
Oh, that's true. No, let's talk about that real quick.
Should we do that right now?
We're going to do that right now.
Do we have Doug hanging out? I didn't see or hear from Doug tonight, so I'm guessing he's not around.
I told Doug that I didn't think that we need him. I wasn't sure with Paul coming on what the timetable was going to look like, and I didn't want him to think. So for those of you that know, we're at GBO. There was a Pick'em contest run by SkipAce.com. It was strictly for the GBO people who were in attendance. You had to be at the Brickyard Ale House in order to enter, and it was scored just like all of the other Skip Ace events. So it was based on the number of people you beat, and then as a tiebreaker, because everyone's going to pick the same 3 to 4 out of 5 MPO players, and Paige and Kat, and then one of the other, maybe Val, Sarah, or maybe Hannah. So they gave away some wonderful prizes, and I'm going to announce actually the winners tonight and what they got. Okay,
so again, to recap, Tuesday and Wednesday night, you had to go into the Brick House. You had to physically go in there. Someone was manning a computer. One of the many staff or volunteers of the event was manning a computer. You were given a specific password just to get into this specific challenge that took place at the GBO. Did you say upwards of 100 people participated?
It was just shy of 100 people participated.
And most importantly, completely free to do.
Yep.
There was no charge to this whatsoever. This was a collaboration with the Brickyard 20 Ale House, along with Johnny V over at Skip Ace and Doug Bierkes and the event. There was no charge to this whatsoever. So if you went into the ale house, you may or may not have bought me a beverage and enjoyed the podcast.
I think a lot of people did.
But more importantly, you got signed up, and I'm just looking over your shoulder, John. It's ridiculous. They're just giving away a bunch of stuff for free.
Yeah, they're basically, so DD is loading up some DD online accounts. And in 4th place, taking home basically $25 worth of free DD stuff, is Tanya Wright. So congratulations, Tanya. She scored, it looks like, 741 points. So her, I have a list of who she picked exactly here. She went with Ricky, Coling, McBeth, Paige, Kat, and Jen Allen. So congratulations. Taking 3rd place and winning $50 was Dusty Decker. So Dusty scored 745 points. That's, you get a point for every person that your player that you picked beat. So Dusty had picked Ricky, Simon, and Paul, and then Paige, Hannah, and Val. So congratulations, Dusty. 3rd place, Ben Atkinson, $75. He picked Sexton, Simon, and Ricky. He went with Paige, Kat, and Jen Allen. So congratulations. He had 748 points. And winning, scoring 750 points, taking home $100 in their DD online account. I'm not good at drum rolls. It was not you. It was a Terry. But you only have one good ear. This one's Terry Hurd. I'm assuming two good ears. So and Terry picked Nate Sexton, Simon Lizotte, Paul McBeth, Kat Page, and Jen Allen. So congratulations to Terry Hurd for winning the Skip Ace GBO Pick'em League. The Brickyard thanks everyone for stopping out. It was a really fun night. For those of you that got to watch it on the podcast, you can go back and watch Terry continue to take down alcoholic beverages, and
those were NA.
Sure they were.
Little inside tip. Those were all NA.
And just have a really good time. And they treat us in Emporia. I know we've harped on it. They treat us so well. It's really cool to walk in there and see disc golf up on all the TVs, to see your logo, Smashbox. They had the podcast going live while we were doing it at the bar that night. So congratulations. Thanks, Terry Hurd. Thanks everyone that played. It was a pretty good, successful event, and I'm hoping to do it next year as well.
So what's awesome, there's a number of awesome things about this. Again, as I read the email coming in from Doug, it says, I have preloaded these people's accounts. So all 4 of those people that we just mentioned, their email accounts and their accounts with DD are already preloaded with all of those points or dollar amounts. So you're good to go. You don't have to wait for me to finally send you something or wait on anything else. It says that they are preloaded. 25, 50, 75, and 100. If you do some quick math, what is that? $250 worth of stuff?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're just giving for that. That's great.
Just all you had to do is come into the Brickyard on either Tuesday or Wednesday and set it up on that specific account there on site. So thank you to Doug. Thank you to Dee Dee. I'd like to say thank you again to Dee Dee in the sense that as we saw the weekend's chilly weather roll in and some other things, Dynamic Disc spoke with Jeremy, and he also graciously helped support our crew a little bit and outfitted us with a couple of fresh shirts and long sleeves, both long sleeves and short sleeves. So thank you to Jeremy. We'll proudly wear those Dynamic Disc shirts throughout the year, so we certainly appreciate it. All right, so pretty good stuff out there taking place on a number of, we had a number of great nights out there in Emporia, and looking forward to doing more of that in the future. I think from an official standpoint, in terms of the regular show, I think we can call it a night here, and then maybe we can get into some other action in the after show. We'll be giving away some stuff of our own during the after show.
That's right.
So if you're already a Patreon supporter, not only does your $1 or $2 a show or episode or month go a long way to helping us do what we do, along with all of our additional counterparts in Yulee and Dana and others, where we thank and reward them financially, but it also then makes you eligible to win stuff. So every single night you have the chance to win stuff anytime we're doing an official SmashBoxxTV podcast, and tonight's going to be one of those nights, and we typically open the after show with a winner of sorts, and then everybody sticks around and we talk a little bit of more random stuff as well. So Disc Golf says, talk about Patreon smash cuts. Should we talk about that now or later?
Let's do it in the after show.
Okay, we'll talk about that in the after show as well, and we can go from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great night. We appreciate both Hannah and Paul joining us, giving us all the insights, not only recapping their GBO experience, but talking about other things on a larger scale on top of that. I'd like to thank all of you supporters that tune in, whether it's after the fact or to our live show. We had a huge showing tonight, cresting some nearly new official numbers or largest numbers ever on our podcast. And we certainly recognize and appreciate that wherever you're consuming us. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, that's been our official GBO recap with Paul and Hannah. We'll see you in the after show, where we're going to give away some free stuff, talk about other random goods going on in the sport of disc golf. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the video credits. If you're interested in being listed as a producer on SmashBoxxTV's podcast, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hey. Here we go.
Woohoo!
Step inside the Smashbox with Johnny V and Terry Miller, the disc golf guy.
Hello, everyone.
Wow.
Welcome to SmashBoxxTV's podcast number 142. This is the after show. What happens in the after show, Johnny? Tell them.
Things get crazy.
Sometimes.
No, actually, we give away stuff, and we talk about whatever we want.
That
We talk about maybe things we watch, things we read, other disc golf stuff.
things that may or may not be disc golf related.
That's
I think that's one of the
going
most
on.
important things. We talk about things like undershirts, hairstyles, you
Yeah.
name it.
Yep.
Silly things you see out in social media and beyond. So it is, it's going to have a disc golf under theme to it,
Usually.
underlie to it,
Undershirt theme to it.
undershirt theme to it. Jokes, language, all of that can get a little looser
Yeah.
if need be.
Yeah.
So we're glad you're here. We just got done with our regular show where we talked to Paul McBeth and Hannah Croak. We appreciate them joining us. And one of the things we usually start the after show with relatively quickly is, in fact, a giveaway. And you are eligible for the giveaways by being a Patreon supporter. I know we talk about that in a number of different places for how you can do that and what that means to us, but that is how you can become eligible. And one of the rules that might get changed that I dislike is that the same person could continually win week after week. We have over 100 supporters, and we've had a repeat winner, I think just once now. Someone who signed up, they had signed up literally within a few days. We drew their name, and then a few weeks later, we drew their name again. And Johnny goes through a whole randomizer to try and make it possible. But, yeah, it's going to be out there and available. And we also interact with the board found on the live YouTube chat. Some of our favorite friends over at UDisc, I believe that's Matt probably, Matt and Josh from UDisc Live, I know had joined the boards and saying he was looking forward to the after show. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but
It's not nearly as fun as most of your shows that you had at the GBO. You had fun.
of course I do. I love what I do.
I know. A lot of people commented on how much fun you had, and
That's good.
it was fun to watch.
Was it apparent?
It was a very apparent
Oh, okay.
that you had fun.
Well, I'm glad.
You were a little more relaxed. You were looser. I'm sure a little bit of alcohol doesn't hurt with that, and it was just a lot of fun. So
It was a really good time. Most of you guys know. Well, I was at the Glass Blown Open. We had a little bit different style or format in that I basically raced around after every day's live coverage. I'd race to another location and set up for what was a podcast. I kind of dubbed those a disc golf guy nightly recap or daily recap. And they were at a number of the different establishments in town. And we were very blessed to get into town. We did our regular Tuesday night right there at the Brickyard 20 Ale House. The next two nights I went over to the Bourbon Cowboy, which was a very common ground for a lot of the disc golfers. They had nightly activities. They had mini golf going on indoors. There was a 9-hole course taking place all weekend long. So that was at the Bourbon Cowboy. Then we went out to the Dynamic Disc Distribution Warehouse where the Swedish Bonfire was taking place. Eric McCabe and a few others helped me set up in a great location there. That was one of my most favorite podcast nights in having the guests that we had. And then on the final night, I was back at the Brickyard, and I even let Philo and Simon take over the show. And
that's what I heard. I wasn't actually up at that point. I went to bed. I was done.
I think a lot of people had a really good time with that. So, Dan Harbeck says he loves the opening. Thank you, Dan. And Derek asked if we'd remind everyone that the Pittsburgh Flying Disc Open
That's right.
is officially open. It's being played at the beautiful Lakeview Disc Golf Course at Moraine State Park. Wow, is that the only course? Could you clarify, Derek? That's excuse me. We saw Worlds being played there.
That's an NT this year.
Correct. Taking place, I believe, in the last weekend in August. Not only is it an NT, but it's also the location that we saw for Worlds a couple of years ago, and that's a very challenging course. And that'd be interesting if that's the only course that it's being played at. I'm in full support of it. I didn't know that would be the case, though. Steve Hardmeyer, great question. So some of you know, thanks to Paul from Illinois, Paul had graciously asked me a few days ago or a week ago when's the last time I'd been inside Wrigley. I was down there for a number of the World Series games, hanging out in the streets and the bars, and as well as some of the playoff games, just hanging out because the atmosphere was exciting and electric and a lot of fun as a lifelong Cubs fan. And I told him I hadn't been in Wrigley in a couple of years, and he said that he was starting a new job and he had purchased tickets, a whole pack of tickets for earlier in the season, and said that he would love to share them with me as he was about to travel for a new job anyway. And he graciously transferred a couple of tickets to me. And there was conversation with my cousin and whatnot and a few golfers and whatnot. But ultimately, when I got to the game, they had delayed it an hour and 20 minutes last night because of rain. And it was so funny because I was thinking about it from a disc golf perspective. There was just a big sign on the board out in the field that said, "Game's been delayed due to rain. We'll let you know. We'll give you updates as we have them." And I was that guy. I had said to one of the ushers, I'm like, is there like a tentative time? Like any idea? I mean, I understand you're waiting on weather and there's no way for us to for sure know, but are they shooting for 8:30? Are they shooting for 10:30? Like, is there? And finally, at one point, I think it was around 7:40, they announced that they were going to, in fact, delay the game till 8:30 and then start then.
Mm-hmm.
So the field had to be, all that stuff. 8:30 rolled around. They had cleared off the field, did all the groundwork, pulled off the tarps, the whole, all of that. And by 8:25, it was pouring on us. All of us out in the open. These seats were so great; they were only 8 rows off of the field, but also not covered. So I was getting poured on at 8:30 when the game started, and it was miserable. It was flat out miserable. The winds were blowing out, and it was just flat out miserable. The Phillies jumped all over it quickly. Next thing, it was 3-0 in the first inning. After the second inning, it was 7-0. And I hung out. There was a really good solid push, bases loaded in the bottom of the fourth, and they didn't capitalize on any of it. It wasn't 0 outs. It was 1 or 2 outs, and they didn't capitalize. And at that point, I was soaked. I was as dry as I could be in terms of the coat I had, PDGA coat, thank you. But I was soaked otherwise. I'm like, it's been a long week. I can come back under better conditions on another time. It wasn't my first time at Wrigley, so I didn't feel an obligation to stick it out in 44-degree raining weather. And things never really turned around. It was a 10-2 whooping that the Phillies put on the Cubs. So That's my story. But thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. It was the kindest, sweetest of gestures. I love our Smashies.
That's awesome.
And supporters. Really I mean, it's no drone that JL had sent randomly, but no, I seriously appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Let's do our giveaway.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about something. We're going to talk about Yuli real quick.
I'm good with that.
All right. So. I asked if I should sort the list from A to Z or Z to A. People were being jokers about it, saying A to H and O to P. And then someone finally said Z to A, so that's what I'm going to go with. So Z to A, we currently have, I'm scrolling down, 142. So the secret to not letting people be double winners is have more people be Patreon members. I'm just saying. If you want to stop the double winner, only you can prevent it.
If we have 1,000 people signed up, it's less likely for somebody to win twice.
That's right. So, and I did add. I literally just got one. I did add. There was a name. Yes, Tyler House. I added your name. So thank you, Tyler. Really appreciate it. So Tyler does have the option to win. And just make sure I'm at the right number. I said 142. Yes. So between 1 and 142, I hit the generate button. We get the number 122. So it's going to be one of the first letters of the alphabet. We're going
sorted by first name.
Yeah, sorted by first name. We get Chase Hayden.
Super great guy.
Chase Hayden. Congratulations. You are the winner of the Patreon giveaway for this week. I have no clue what it is.
It's an awesome disc, and Chase, you're probably going to hang it and collect it, but it's an awesome disc. I know you are a Vibram-sponsored player, and you're an all-around awesome guy and volunteer and supporter. And I think just today you may have released a video or recently released a video about you're in the bag as a Vibram player.
Wow. Cool.
And this is not a Vibram disc, but it's that much better of a disc to hang up or display or just to put in your stash of other good collectibles. So I'll get that out to you, Chase. Thank you for being a supporter, a Patreon supporter, and contributing on and off the course. Again, I'm honored to know you personally as an all-around awesome guy. So thank you, buddy.
Good.
All right. So I'm going to try and catch up with a little bit of action from the board as to what else is going on out there.
So Ulibarri put a post out there on, I think it was late Saturday.
That would have made sense. Saturday, where he was talking probably about the women possibly trying to play through that rainstorm. And from there is where I kind of gathered the whole idea of, let's say they started at 8:30, pulled off the course after 30 minutes, and then maybe weren't put back on till noon, and then maybe got to play 3 more holes, and then pulled back off. I was taking the example to an extreme, but saying whether it's the whole division or even just the top couple cards of women in this case, would we be okay with the idea of them taking 12 hours or maybe realistically 9 or 10 hours to play what is normally a 2.5-hour round? Would that have been okay if it consumed their entire Saturday to get their round in their division?
Yeah, more or less. And it's the same thing.
So set up his first setup.
I can't find it. I'm wondering if the post was removed.
Okay.
There was some going back and forth with some people, and everything was good for the most part. I think everybody was very civil, and
no, they weren't. It was the internet.
It got a little heated at times, but everyone settled down, and it was just basically saying that he doesn't feel that he thought maybe that all the pools maybe were pulled a little quick. That why is the FPO beholden to the MPO is what it kind of sounded like. Like it seemed like, all right, we know the MPO is not going to get through, so we're just going to cancel the whole event. And I don't necessarily think that's the case in this particular one, but like I had said, and I think even our guest tonight, Paul McBeth, had said that he thought that maybe they could have gotten through the round. And granted, none of us, myself, either Paul, had to make that decision. None of us knew what the course, I didn't know what the course conditions were like. A lot of people said, and they weren't at Olpe, but a lot of people said Olpe was just extremely dangerous. Slick, flooding, dangerous. So basically the argument was, could the women themselves have made it through, and should have they? And I think we pretty much went over this already, more or less saying that it was a call made by the PDGA and Dynamic Disc, and there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, that they made a decision, and that's the way it works. So that's for those of you that were wondering what Paul Ulibarri was talking about. That's what it was. So pretty simple stuff, and I think that we're just going to be, I think.
Well, and so if someone wanted to be a little bit more critical, which I'll be, I guess my question, the follow-up to that would have been, would Paul have made that exact same post? And we love Paul, and I love Paul, and I consider him a good friend. But would he, in all fairness, one would say, would he have made that exact same post if his wife was in first, let's just say by 5 strokes? I'll make up a scenario. She was currently sitting in a tie for third with Jen Allen.
I think he would have.
Would he have come online and said,
well,
you know what? I know my wife's winning by 5, but the women should be out there battling right now.
I'll say this. I can't say for sure. I think he feels that way, even if his wife was in the lead. I don't necessarily know if it would have come out on social media. Because because like it or not, he has a relationship to work with. How does that look to Kat if he goes out and says, well, I know she's in the lead, but man, they should really be out there, trying to beat her. So Would it have come out on social media? I don't know. You know, that's only no one will ever know that. But I bet you he feels that way, and he'll probably tell you that even if Cat was out there, he feels that they probably, if they could get out there and play, that they should, because as he said, you know, disc golf isn't always played in sunshiny days. You have to play in rain, and you have to play in sleet. You have to play in cold. You have to play, you know, there have been events, you know, coming from Arizona, we played Pro Worlds, and we went up to we went up to the mountain, and we went to Arizona. We didn't really pack a lot of warm clothes to go to August in Arizona or July or whenever it was. We get up there, and it's almost snowing on us. It's sleeting, and it was like 40 degrees, and you're freezing our asses off up there.
And then they called it and pulled us off.
And then they called it and pulled us off. Exactly. But I'm just saying, like, you don't always prep for necessarily the best conditions, but you should be out there playing if it's possible to play.
Sure.
And again, I'm not saying it was. I'm not making that call. I'm saying that DD and the PDGA made the call that they felt was right, and I stand behind that. But I think Paul is a pretty level-headed guy, and I think he believes that the players should be out there if they can. And regardless of who's in the lead, it just would that post have come out if Cat was in the lead? I don't know. Probably not.
I agree.
So
and so for that reason, some could say there was a pretty large bias to that post, and I didn't see where it trickled. I kind of got the highest level of recap from you, and I'm sure it only trickled into massive arguing and screaming at one another. But I think when you post something like that, it's tough for people not to see a bias in the post.
Of course.
And which is exactly what I was referencing. So Aaron Palm says you guys should cover the Mayhem on the Mountain tournament in Wisconsin this year. I know nothing of the tournament, so it'd be impossible for me to cover it or talk about it. But I don't know anything about it, Aaron. I'm guessing it's over in the northwest side of the state. There was lightning, and every strike had a 30-minute wait period, and it was 2.5 hours. That's correct. A lot of conversation about Paul and Hannah being on the chat earlier. I'm sorry, being on the interview earlier. Matt asks a great question. Will Meet the Pros footage from last year ever get posted? That's a great question. I think the biggest challenge right now is I have some of the footage, and I know Ben maybe has some of the footage.
Meet the Pros from
the last year's skins match at that took place just before the De La Viega Masters Cup event.
Mm-hmm.
That was a complete cluster. In communication, there was a major communication that broke down at some levels, and right now I think I have some footage that was probably ill shot due to this clustered arrangement, and I think Ben has some footage. So at some point our footage needs to intersect. So that's what I can tell you, Matt. I would love for it to exist. But it's not saying it won't. It certainly should. It's just a matter of somehow making it happen. I think I've talked to Ian about that briefly. What a messy situation that was.
Do we want to talk real quick about...
Have a good night, Mackie D, if you're calling it. You're on the East Coast. Appreciate you stopping in, as always.
About the Smash cut?
Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
I was going to say, I know we talked about Patreon tonight a couple times and how you can support us. One of the things that the Patreon supporters got, and I watched, there's a good portion of them actually viewed it too, I was pretty happy about, was the Smash cut. Basically right after the round, I took and chopped up the live shots, the live round from GBO, and uploaded it to YouTube as an unlisted thing, so it's out there, and pointed all of the patrons to it. So if you are a patron of SmashBoxxTV, you got a cut of the of the round, about 50 minutes usually is what it kind of comes down to, at about usually about 8 o'clock to 8:30 at night. So about 2 to 2.5 hours after the round finishes is about as long as it takes me to get the smash cut up. So if you were a supporter, it's out there. You can watch it anytime you want. It's going to stay out there. It's going to stay unlisted. It's for you guys only. I'm hoping and trying to talk Steve Dodge into it, but I don't know where that's going to go or if it's going to go anywhere. And I briefly brought it up with him this week at GBO, but we're a month away from the next Pro Tour event, so we'll see, and we'll see what happens with that. But I wish it would, because I think it would be kind of cool. I like doing the smash cuts. They take me it's kind of funny because they take me a little over an hour to edit, because I'm really just pulling stuff out. And the round got done, 5:30 to 6. So usually I take about 15 minutes to eat, an hour to cut, and then it's 20 minutes to upload, 20 minutes to process, 20 minutes to a half hour, and the soonest, I don't know if there's a way to get it up any sooner than 8:30. Like, that is the absolute soonest. I could put the link out there, because when you upload a video, it says, oh, here's your future link, and it'd just be blank.
Well, or it comes in at 360.
Because YouTube has tendency has
and
to
then everyone
re-encode
goes
it.
out there and says, why am I only getting this in 360?
So what I did is I put a delay on when it was released to everybody. So it's out there. If you want it, awesome. By now the Joe Met stuff is out there, so there's really not a huge calling for the smash cut. But I'm working on it. I'm working on it for you guys. I'd love to see it out there for everybody. I think it would be a nice bonus, and I don't mind doing it.
Yes, and we hope that everyone enjoys it out there and you took advantage of it being available if it suits your fancy. If not, again, completely bonus, no charge to anyone. Just as it's just a little extra that Johnny and us here at Smashbox can provide for you. Dan Berman, I'm not familiar with him, but apparently has passed along, and it sounds like he was a good dude, as it said out here on the board. So thoughts with him and his family. Sounds like he was quite an advocate and ambassador down in Florida. Legend of the sport, and literally built Jacksonville, I'm assuming Jacksonville disc golf to what it is, and a few people have echoed that. So thoughts to that community who will be missing any legend of our game out there and ambassador. Chain Banger says thanks and watched the smash cut. The question about Know Your Pro. We have some raw footage, and it comes from a number of our players. I don't want to spoil it yet, but by the time we get to the next Disc Golf Pro Tour event, I'm hoping we have one or two more of those in the can. Again, they've I think two or three other people have been interviewed, and it's just a matter of cutting up the footage to turn it into the digestible version that it is.
Cool.
I think with both or all three of the interviewees, I think it was 20 or 30 minutes, and that'll probably get trimmed down to with subtitles. Probably trimmed down to the 10 or 15-minute version that you saw. So it's a really weird format for me. Not only am I asking a little bit more intimate questions, which is fine, but I'm just kind of rattling them off one after another to try and get stuff for the piece. So it's not as laid back in interview style that I'm used to, and it's just a little different. It's different for them, and it's different for me, and we're doing it with the sole purpose of post production. So we're working on them though, and the Pro Tour will be featuring more of those. So looking forward to that.
Cool One asks, JVD and Terry, can you explain to us how does guest pro commentary work behind the scenes? You edit first, and then they record over it at night between the rounds. No, kind of, but not really. So they do a full edit of the round, or at least as much as they can, maybe 9 holes, but probably the full round. We'll say CCDG or Jolmes, whomever is doing it. Then the next morning usually is when the player will come in, usually probably about 8 or 9 a.m.
Because and mainly the timeline is that they may take till 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning to get the rough cut together.
They're not as fast or good of editor as I am.
No, clearly. You're doing a much better job.
Kid. Their job is 10 times harder than mine.
20.
Oh, yeah, 20 to 100 times harder. Because I have the fortunate thing that I see one big giant chunk of video, and I just literally cut things out, they have 2 to 3 cameras that they have to line up, arrange,
Sync.
pick shots, graphics on top of that. They do so much more than I do. But then after they get that part all taken care of, the next morning the pros come in, sit down, and there's a couple different methods to do it. Sometimes you can record right onto the video. You can record to a separate device and then overlay it over the video. I'm not exactly sure how each particular group does it. I've seen that sometimes they record into like one of our handheld recorders, and then they'll overlay it on the video. But that's always a little weird because then you have syncing issues possibly. A lot of times they'll just hit play and then have the pros record what they're talking about. Sometimes they know what they're talking about because they were on the card. Sometimes you'll see like Big Germ on it, who I don't believe was on the card when he got to do a round with Sexton this weekend. So yeah, it's
usually takes place though the next morning more often than not. Again, they can get all the edited pieces together. One of the many challenges with the whole process is you have to get it so it's essentially done. You want all your overlays and your commercials. You want everything put in there so it's good to go. And in a lot of cases, you could just post that version. But then the next morning when the pros sit down, they're going to watch it, and commentate over it and get all situated. That's minimum of 30 to 40 to 60 minutes to get all that done. But the real challenge is then you re-render over the top of it, depending on your machine. That could be anywhere from 20 to 60 minutes to 120 minutes. And then from there, you need to take the slowest part, usually, is then to upload it to YouTube, and then YouTube processes it on their end. So having it edited together in at 2 or 3 in the morning is at that point only about half the process. It's the most labor intensive. The rest of it is more of a waiting game. And until we have insane internet speeds everywhere you go for uploading, which is a few years off, that's kind of the main bottleneck, believe it or not. They may have the majority of the work done at night. It's the upload and the YouTube processing that takes a while, and that's why you usually see it, at the start of the next round or sometime early evening or whatever. It's, believe it or not, there's a bottleneck that's outside of our control to some degree. So, and I throw myself in there whenever I do post-production in a similar sense as well. So I'm very familiar with the entire process as well. Someone had asked if we are, in fact, where I missed it. I want to make sure that I read it correctly as I'm going through here. So people talking about rooting for Nico's success. Did you see the part with Astro Castro?
I did not see that. I missed
Very
it.
entertaining.
I tuned in after that. He's apparently a rapper.
He straight spit some beats, or flow. He was straight flowing. He came up to me later on another night and said he's got beats and he wants to keep it going. So I think I may be one of the exclusive content providers here for
Astro
Castro. And it's very good and entertaining. New World Pro Tour is this year. Huge private course locally out yonder. Okay. When is the next battle box? Between Sexton and Hannah Croak. Inquiring minds want to know. All questions are about McBeth.
That would be kind of funny.
There would have to be a McBeth section if those two were to square off. Shameless plug for Vanish, featured on Smashbox last week, is being given away now on your channel.
The Disc Golf Nerd, he does segments for us. Thank you very much, Disc Golf Nerd. He is giving away. He does that a lot. He gives away the plastic that's sent to him that he tests out. So if you go to his channel, Disc Golf Nerd, you can have a chance to win the disc he did. So that was the Vanish. So go ahead and check that out.
All right. Reading down, Terry, what do you love to eat?
Yeah, what do you love to eat, Terry? You're a chicken guy.
I'm chicken. First of all, I love chicken. I always have. My mom made it a lot for me, and I feel like it's probably one of the healthiest things that I can eat in nearly probably endless supply. I love chicken. I go to an Outback Steakhouse and I get chicken, for instance. I just love chicken. Chicken, I like Philly cheesesteaks wherever I can try them around the country. That's kind of one of my things. Is always searching for a really good Philly cheesesteak where you add jalapenos and mushrooms and black olives to it.
My wife made a really good pesto chicken like 2 nights ago. It was really good.
Wait a minute. So chicken, cheesesteaks are great, and I think almost everyone in the world has to love good pizza and or calzones if you can find them. So I don't know. Those jump out at me as Climo Barsby commentary needs to happen. I think it could in the right place. Schwebby, quit giving me a hard time about my damn haircut. I know I need one. Random update tomorrow. I feel like this is dragging on and on. In my personal life tomorrow, I go in for a follow-up testing and or what's the word?
Diagnosis?
Not diagnosis. I was going to say calibrating of a CPAP machine. So this has been a long process, but tomorrow now I go in. I said, okay, so then I'll have like the machine. They're like, oh no, it's still another month after that. It's been a very long and trying and expensive process here, but hopefully people that have to share rooms with me will benefit from me having a CPAP machine.
Hope
What are your thoughts on music being played on a competitive two-man league? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what he meant. In general, if it's a league, I don't mind music being played as long as the whole group agrees. But usually, it's probably best just to keep it to yourself. I mean, because
when in doubt, keep it like.
Yeah, I mean, if two-man league sounds like you against your friend, and in that case,
if you both agree, then you both agree. I
you
guess.
both agree.
Cool one says, thanks Terry and Johnny. That's fascinating. Oh, in terms of the backup, lots of hard work.
No, the plastic is not gone, but he cut off the corner that was peeling.
Hey-oh, that was gonna be a little trick I was gonna show you guys later.
Oh my!
I've trimmed off.
Just pull.
No, I trimmed it off. I'm looking for a major sponsor.
Major sticker sponsor
of sorts. Yes. We can get in. Yeah, whatever. But no, I actually sliced off. I found a razor at the DD warehouse, and I sliced off the piece that was just kind of dangling there. I agree. That was an eyesore. I totally agree with that. Now it's just sliced off, but it's still there. Cool one says, thanks for the insights as to how post-production works. No problem. Keep up the good work, Daniel says. Appreciate it. Terry and Johnny are violent Femmes fans.
You're not so much. I mean, you don't mind them.
I wouldn't go out of my way for them.
I'm a little more. So if they're playing at Summerfest and I happen to be at Summerfest that day, I'll go see them. I grew up with them though as well. So we had some friends that really enjoyed them, and I did as well. So.
Well, I'm way behind on the chat here. Let me get caught up. Terry with the Astro distribution. Dear God, no, I don't know what that is. GiantThirstDesign.com and hit the Disc Golf Warehouse tab.
MC Geisik is right. You need just a vinyl Smashbox cover on the back.
I do. That would be, if Smashbox wants to pay me for that.
How much is it? Smashbox is rolling in some cash.
Thoughts on
vinyl
the playoffs?
Covers. Basketball playoffs? I know nothing about. It's probably gonna be Cavs Warriors again.
I think that's what I heard as well. That shows how much up to date I am. I'm not as enamored. Is that the right word? By the Warriors this year, only because they're not on this I mean, it's awesome that they're gonna make it to the finals again and all that other stuff probably, and win or not, probably win.
They're not like 70 and
correct, yeah.
10
so
or whatever.
The lack of the record breaking is doesn't have my interest as much, but good to we'll see.
I did watch American Gods. I watched it yesterday. It showed on Sunday. I'm really excited because it looks like a really great TV show. Nothing you would like.
Okay.
But
so it's probably stupid.
It's going to be really good, Terry. It's going to be really good.
I'll trust you on it.
My wife read the book. I started to read the book in the audio. I was listening to an audiobook, and I got through like maybe a quarter of the book, and then I kind of just got distracted and never went back. And I haven't had a chance to go back, but now I don't want to because I'm going to watch the series, so I'm going to be surprised by the series, and then maybe I'll go back and read the book afterwards. So it's on Stars right now. So if you are a cord cutter, go ahead and you can buy it the next day. I believe it's really good. Yeah. I'm not gonna say anything about it. It's good.
All right. Well, a very maybe I can't say if he or she is yet generous, but Smashy had just reached out and asked, how can I donate to Smashbox? Not necessarily via the Patreon methodology, but there's a couple ways that you could do it. Probably the easiest way overall, though, and this is just generically speaking, is if you go out to SmashBoxxTV, SmashBoxx.tv, and then go to support.
/support.
/support. There's then a couple options, including a link to the Patreon, which breaks that down, and then via PayPal as well. So if you would like to go out and make any kind of one-time contribution, or whatever you'd like, there's a number of people that are out there and have left some great comments with us, so we certainly appreciate it. Those are the easiest ways if you wanted to go out and do something.
I'm not even done, but it was like a week ago, I started redesigning the website a little bit.
Yeah,
it looks
I'm
a
now
little
just
different.
looking at it for the first time.
Yeah. And
where'd your design skills come from?
I stole them. What else am I going to do? No, there was an update to the theme that we use, the theme. We got the X Pro now. They released something new, so I was messing around with it, and I thought, And I basically
So
added.
tell me, should I be impressed by this?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. Because I haven't had a lot of chance to update it. There's still some blank stuff out there right now, but I'm actually adding in. Yeah.
Yeah, looks great.
Well, nobody's going out there yet, but I want to promote the fact that we could do other things other than disc golf if we really wanted to, like corporate
events.
And
I think we proved it this weekend by being in the Granada. If somebody had dare I say, a play or any other kind of activity, obviously in a confined setting, it would be even easier. But like you were probably just going to say, like anything that takes place, especially in a setting like that, would be, I don't want to just say easy, but would be easier probably than what we're used to. But I think of commencement ceremonies of any kind. If somebody, maybe you work for a business networking club and you wanted your business meetings put online, and I know there's solutions that do certain things, and kind of fit into these categories. Or your daughter or the citywide soccer tournament is taking place, and you wanted us to come in for a weekend. We kind of purposely didn't name ourselves in anything that was specific to disc golf. Smashbox, hopefully, we believe, we hope you now feel is synonymous with live disc golf now, but we could really cover anything live if we could get signal for it. And
we could, and we don't even honestly.
And if you want to give me a few drinks, I could commentate anything as well.
Truly, we don't even need like cell signal.
It doesn't have to be
because if the on-site location has good internet, we can jack into there. It just means I need to be on site. I don't imagine this being like not that we couldn't do it nationwide, but I'm thinking more locally right now, Midwest, and being able to do something along those lines, concerts, anything like
soccer tournaments, your club's big ultimate event. Let's say you're having a citywide or a regional club ultimate tournament. We would show up. We'd probably bring more tripods. I had to think of the fancy word. No, we'd probably bring a few more tripods, and there'd be a little less running around, but maybe have a few extra cameras that could be in different areas, and we'd bring in knowledgeable people that would either take over the show in terms of talking about the commentary, or maybe I could sub in with them. So it's a good point to kind of just throw out there that we're capable of doing any of those things. I think it would be a lot of fun to go cover other stuff outside of just disc golf, or maybe more exhibition and other frisbee or other related things.
Definitely. I'd
freestyle competitions, overall competitions, ultimate, all of those.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to talk I was in communication with the guy who does this for ultimate for a while, right before they did their big push for that big, I think it was a GoFundMe that they had done.
Sure.
And so I do want to get back in touch with him and see how things are going with him, and maybe not necessarily offer up services, but just kind of see what their plans are and see if there's any collaboration that we could do.
Yeah, I'm backtracking a little bit on the board here, trying to catch up. UDisc app asks, do you like chili dogs? No, I don't. Not a fan of those. Chicken and honey mustard, one of my all-time faves. Disc golf, Cheese Whiz, I'll pass. Schwabe, we more thoughts and prayers for Cubby out there for sure. Have I tried Kino? I have, and I think it's delicious. Yeah, Johnny, what do you love to eat?
Pizza, obviously. Calzone kind of falls right into that pizza area. I don't mind a really, really good steak. trying to think. It's really basic, but I really like donuts. You know, just
Fair
a
enough.
good.
God, dare I ask what kind of donuts so they can make fun of you?
Usually a Long John. I know it sounds silly because my name is John, but
And
yeah, and I'm tall. But here's the funny part: like here in Wisconsin, you go to almost any grocery store, and we have a bakery with donuts and whatever. It really stinks going throughout the other parts of the country where they don't have that. A lot of grocery stores just don't even have that style of bakery where they have donuts. You have to go to like a donut shop, like a. And I'll say this, I like the stuff that's in our pick and saves. Like those are some of my favorites. But other than that, I'm trying to think of. I don't get super excited for a lot of foods.
here's
Mexican. I love enchiladas. I really love enchiladas. Just usually a good chicken enchilada is fantastic. And we have a couple of really good choices here in Milwaukee for Mexican. Marcus Burks asks, "What's a Long John?" It's like a longer donut. And it's frosted, usually with vanilla frosting. None of the stuff. I know that a lot of people stick creams and stuff on the inside. I won't take any of that. I don't like it. Were you in the car with me? I think you were when we stopped. I want to say it was in. I don't remember if it was in Sheboygan or not, but I think I accidentally had grabbed. No, maybe it was La Crosse. I grabbed a donut that had filling in it, and I took a big bite of it, and I almost threw up because I don't love the filling. And so I rolled down the window and just threw it out the window and spit it out.
It is safe to say, and here's another funny fact for you guys out there that might come in the mildly tough to believe. Johnny consumes donuts at roughly a rate compared to me of I would say at least 100 to 1.
Sure. Well, how many donuts do you have a year?
2 or 3.
Oh.
Max.
Oh, I surpass even 100 to 1.
That I was going to say maybe 200.
I almost have a donut a day. Not on weekends, because we usually have good.
Because you're too lazy to get up and go get one somewhere.
Pretty much. And I'll eat like decent breakfasts, ham, eggs, bacon, pancakes, waffles, stuff like that. But on weekdays, I'll usually have a banana, and then I'll drop my kids off, and then I'll stop at a grocery store, grab some chocolate milk and a donut usually. Like almost every day. Like one donut and a chocolate milk. That's kind of my routine because my daughter's school is right next to a grocery store, and not that I don't have time in the morning. I could make time to make a better breakfast. I just don't. Like tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up at 6:15, and I'll be out the door by 7. And it involves getting a kid ready and getting myself ready and making sure everything's good to go, and then I'm out the door by no later than 7, or I'm going to be late. So it's just the way my life is. I would love to quit eating them and eat them only like once a week.
I bet you if you polled our crew out there, I don't know that our guests would really believe it, but yeah, you easily.
Oh yeah,
I would say easily it's 100 to 1.
Again, to you?
Yeah, to me.
Easy. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the last time I had one.
Yeah, it's just what I do.
And if I do, it's got to be custard filled, the kind you hate, which is funny. All right, moving on down. Thoughts on flex starts and one-round double disc events. Flex starts I'm good with. It's a unique opportunity to get a sanctioned round in that's competitive, rated rounds, all that stuff. I'm good with those. One thing that they did talk about that I think took place is a really, really unique idea that dynamic discs had gotten approved. Did you understand how they did that? It was a 9-hole course.
Basically, you threw 2 shots. You threw 2 drives and completed 2 shots every hole.
Which is just like playing.
To complete 18. You just played 2 rounds of 9, more or less.
Yeah, and
at once.
I'm good with that. I thought that was a really cool idea. Another, and the people will vote with their dollars. If you have 7 people that attend that, over a matter of 2 or 3 opportunities, maybe it's not worth it for you to do it. If you see 90 people doing it or hundreds of people doing it, sounds like it's a viable way to go about it. So I'm totally good with that. MC Geisky said you have someone with 3 MRAPs. Yeah, talk to me. Maybe we could make something happen for the front of this good old MSI laptop that I have, which is coming up on a year old. All right, let's keep reading through here. I want to get all caught up. Ribfest credit Give Terry a shot of Crown for me. Terry needs Crown about as much as Jeffrey Baratheon. I don't.
Baratheon.
Sure.
He wanted some props for the Game of Thrones call out last week, and I gave it to him right that week.
Well, that's
I
how
said,
you get Dad's
I said
drunk.
bravo. I said bravo.
Yeah, and if you try to be mean to our guests long enough, yes, that's when I put you in timeout like you were trying earlier. So I'll call you out on that as well. How much to get a blue wrench next to your name? How much does that cost? Jeremiah, you're working toward that category, buddy. We appreciate your insight. A blue wrench, for those who are wondering what in the world that means, that basically means Johnny or myself or some other trusted administrator.
No, I don't think anyone else can do it other than
just
us.
you and I. Means that we've trusted you with some kind of a moderator, I was going to say skill set, some kind of moderator authority on our board, and that's what happens when you have a blue.
It allows you to block and remove and put people in timeout.
So if you're an absolute jerk, I don't just need to catch it. Another, any one of our trusted associates. Wrenches. With SETI, I didn't see you at GBO this year. Why not? No. Okay, I'm not even going to go there. I know you had a rough time last year. Got Ed Sheeran tickets. Who's jealous? Sounds good. Alabama. All right. Rib Fest.
Wow, you're way behind in the chat.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get all caught up here. I think I can move forward.
Yeah, just move forward. You don't need to read every single comment.
Yeah. This is what we're here for. Okay.
So.
We all good?
I think so.
Think we're all caught up.
What else is out there?
All the donuts taste like diabetes in a tangible form.
I think he
all
was saying
their donuts.
all of their
Voodoo. Yeah. Is that out in Portland? Is that where you're?
Voodoo's out in Portland. It's see, and that's not the type of thing I would enjoy. I'm not going to go out there and look at like, ooh, look at the donut with Fruit Loops on it, or the one
actual bacon.
Yeah, actual bacon covered in Fruit Loops with chocolate syrup and maple covering it. Like that doesn't interest me. I like a flat, plain donut. Not even the Krispy Kremes are okay. It's not. I glazed donuts don't do much for me. It's the white frosting donut that I love. I do. I love it. I love it a lot.
Okay, so that's good for you.
And yes, I should quit eating them Cool One because they are fried. But I balance it out with a banana, so it almost makes
yes,
sense.
That's a net. So a conversation that it's not. It doesn't even fully warrant I'll say a rant, but a conversation that I think is always funny, speaking of bananas, is when people throw like a banana peel or an apple core. You've had your favorite green Granny Smith apple.
Is that littering?
Is that littering or is that okay?
That's like such a gray area borderline.
But it's not.
Like
it's not.
You shouldn't, because you should throw it in the garbage, period. Because it's not truly it's not.
While you say that, go ahead. I'm going to look up the definition of trash.
It doesn't decompose at a quick rate. That's the problem. Like, something that would decompose at a very, very quick rate, I don't know if I'd have as much of a problem. Like, if you pour soda out your window, is that littering?
Yeah.
Like not the cup. Just dump soda out as like, oh, I'm going to empty my cup, throw it out, dump it out the window. Is that littering? Like, I wouldn't throw a banana peel or an apple core or anything out the window. You throw it in the garbage. But I don't know.
Okay. Funny. I'm assuming it's Mike Barnett from Sun King being represented here. He says not littering. It's littering.
It is littering.
Let me ask you this.
Because so many people are thinking, like, what animal's going to eat that?
Yeah, or biodegradable. Sure. Okay, great. So how about this?
I still don't want it in like my yard or in the street. Like,
thank you.
Then let it biodegrade in the garbage.
If I take and I'll use banana peel. I feel like banana peels and apples are on a slightly different level. But I take a banana peel and I whip it out the highway, Interstate 35, which I spent dozens of hours on.
Yes.
I throw it out the highway on Interstate 35, and I throw it far enough that, and I didn't do this. Disclaimer: I did not do this, but I throw it far enough that it makes it to the shoulder of the road, off the gravel, off the pavement, into the grass. Littering or not?
Yeah,
Littering, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but some animal's going to get it.
So if you throw peanuts out,
Still littering. Bread?
birdseed. If you have a bag of birdseed in your car and you're taking handfuls and throwing it out the window, is that littering?
I would say so.
Yeah, because you probably shouldn't be doing that, but still.
So now I guess the question is,
There are I'll say this, there are levels to littering. There is your, someone stops, tosses a soda can out the window, or a
cigarette butt,
or a drink that they got from McDonald's or something dumb. There's your flat out like, are you kidding me? That's garbage. There's your food littering, like, if I took a hamburger, let's say
half-eaten McDonald's. Well, let's get specific. A half-eaten McDonald's hamburger.
Yeah, and tossed it on the ground. Is that littering? Yes. Is it as bad? Probably not, because it is technically consumable by an animal that will probably grab it and take it.
And then die itself.
Probably because it's McDonald's.
Right?
I agree. But I would say there are levels. Like I said, the other thing, throwing birdseed out the window, probably way less than even the hamburger. None of it should be done. Just keep the stuff clean.
Well, and Andrew Clayson kind of is getting to a point that I was ultimately getting at too. He says, I'll throw an apple core out on a country road, but not in downtown. And I guess I take it to the next question and say, with along that level is, when you do throw some of these things out, you think, oh, an animal or bird's going to get it. Depending on where you leave it, are you creating a much bigger problem? Because who says you throw a hamburger out, or you throw a banana peel or an apple, and you leave it in the middle of an interstate at 70 miles an hour? Do you really want that raccoon, that bird,
to run out into the middle of the
rabbit,
road,
whatever it is, to come out and then get it, and then potentially not just get killed, but then all of the fallout that can come from there? Someone swerving to get away from that stupid deer to, whatever.
Unintended consequences.
Exactly. So,
Yep.
I don't know. I just, it's funny to me.
Yeah, is losing a disc in a tree littering?
In theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, but I mean,
would you get fined for it? Would a
No.
policeman come after you?
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
probably not.
Just like if you hit a golf ball and lose it, that's technically littering. But again, that's semantics. So
It depends if the 2 meter rule is in effect.
good call.
So it's just I don't know. It's something that funny that I thought about when
an apple core could lead to a new tree, and a burger could grow into a burger bush.
Good call, Trevor. Good call. So I don't know. It's funny because a lot of people, I think, just generically think, and you kind of hit on it.
Yeah.
If it's a piece of, a fruit, apple, banana, whatever, people are so much more inclined to just toss it out the window and be like, oh, I got her all the way to the trees. It's in nature now. We're all good. That's not really littering. And I'm like, well, you're still taking trash that you don't want, and you're throwing it somewhere where it's not intended, and it may or may not benefit an animal or two.
Apparently, an NBC report says it is littering, and in Florida, you will be fined for that.
Good.
So,
someone else, I think, said, what happens if a tree drops an apple? Is it littering? Very clever.
Good
but
question.
I'd love to see some burger bushes.
I'd love a burger bush.
What kind of cheese would you put on those?
Burger bush?
The burger bush burgers.
I don't know. Like, go with a good, go with classic American or
Okay.
cheddar. But, I think a burger bush probably requires like a Munster.
Yes.
Something really.
Gouda.
I don't know if I've ever had Gouda on a burger. I love a good smoked Gouda.
Yeah.
Smoked Gouda with apple. It's good. It's really good.
Hopefully with the apple. I don't know. Never mind. All right, ants.
Yep.
I pick up enough of other people's trash on a daily basis and recycle it just to justify throwing my banana peel into a ditch in the country now and then. That's
exactly.
fair.
I think that fits in that gray area where it's like, there's probably a lot of there's not a lot of animals in the city. There's a lot of animals in the country. And if you throw something relatively biodegradable that probably, for the most part, came from nature, I think you should be okay. But also, most of the fruit and stuff we eat are probably sprayed with so many pesticides and chemicals. And
Well, I don't even want to go there.
I'm gonna eat them.
Marcus Burks has got a new platform here. I think you're the one that started it as well, saying that you hate looking for clear disc and we just ban them. That's an interesting take, and maybe some could be said of green disc, depending on your neck of the woods.
Black discs.
Or black discs.
Because you throw them into a little bit of wooded area and they just vanish.
That's certainly that's an interesting perspective that I've honestly never thought of.
I kind of joke, and I've said it before on the course. I've seen people pull out like clear discs or green discs, and I make the joke like, "You lose that, I'm not looking for that." And I can't necessarily say that I have. Like, there are times you just kind of stand there and give the, sorry, dude, I don't see it. Like, I'm not going into that woods for a disc for
an already camouflaged disc.
A green disc that you threw. So
yeah, that could be, and it's interesting as well. Clearly, pardon the pun on that one. No, but you could throw a disc, and I may be colorblind, and it may be that much more difficult for me to spot it for you. And of course, you're supposed to help.
I'm just gonna tell everybody I'm colorblind.
I'm colorblind. I'm plastic blind. I don't see your plastic. I only see my own. You jerk. Black putters and drivers, of course. If you throw them in the fairway, you don't have any problems. I don't know how you'd know that, Michael. But yes, keep it in the fairway is a good idea. I dye clear disc to make them more visible for people all the time. That's a good way to go. Makes it a little bit smarter. Gosh darn it! A moment ago, I had something interesting to relay, and now it already slipped my mind. I guess I'd be looking for feedback. I know there's a lot of people that have somewhat joked or given me a hard time about some of my beverage consumption, and I'm totally good with all of it. I'm just playing around, playing back with it when anybody mentions it. But I'd like to know if, just generally speaking, if you guys enjoyed the idea, the concept of nightly podcasts.
No, I thought the concept of you just getting drunk on air.
No, but in all serious tone, I would love to know. Getting done with the round and then rushing, and this is part of the conversation Johnny and I have had for the last couple years with SmashBoxx, rushing off to another location to get, usually a lot of times I had to set up and break down that same night. To get set up, I didn't have a set time. Every time was a little bit different depending on what was going on each night. If you guys feel like that is something that truly provides value, I saw anywhere from 40 to 200 people on any given night. I don't know if a dead set time would help that. If I just pushed it back and said, okay, 10 o'clock every single night, I for sure will be ready to go by then. I don't know if it just solely depends on the night of the week or the quality of the guest, who I never have locked in. I'm looking for feedback as to doing that. I enjoy doing it. I wish, of course, I could find slightly quieter situations, but part of the whole concept is I want to go to where the players are going to be so that we can randomly pull players in. Unfortunately, I can't always control the volumes to which things are happening at those places, but I really would like feedback on it.
I think a lot of people enjoyed it. I'll say this. Everything I've read, the only complaints that people have, like you said, were the volume of the background music. Can you help that? No. Could we get maybe some better directional mics?
Not really, because those are actually really great mics. But go on.
Maybe. I mean, but those are usually like ridiculously expensive as well. You know, the mics that you have are, middle of the road mics. Yeah, I would rather not pay $400 for a good directional lav mic. Other than that,
that may be marginally better.
Other than that, you can use kind of like the mics you have, like the SM58s. Those are directional, but we don't necessarily want guests to always be holding that stuff. And as awkward as it is sometimes to watch you pin a lav mic on people, I was fine with it. I didn't think the music in general was too bad. You could almost always hear you guys. It was just usually a murmur in the background.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that feedback and what you guys are saying. Thank you guys. I'm going to try and read through these quickly. Someone had said they waited for the notification to tell me when you're on. That's great. Grim said that you liked it a lot. I appreciate that. A set time would be nice, but whatever time you do it, keep doing it. It adds to the overall vibe of those tournaments that can be outside the actual golf. And then more conversation about Paul McBeth's hair. Love the nightly podcast. It was great to get a look at what's going on outside of the daily rounds. I enjoyed your coverage at the GBO, very organic and real. We are getting to see the athletes as they are, exposure we don't get, and that's certainly part of it.
That's one of the reasons why we do it in general. And GBO is unique because of all of the extra stuff they have. Every night you go to Masters Cup, you're not getting that. You're getting maybe a Fly Mart, but they don't have all of the extras around the city that they do. Most of the NTs don't have that.
Yeah, and GBO, as you're saying, is awesome because of the small city. When they do have these extra events and there's 1,100 people there, you're always going to find great people to pull in, whether it's an ambassador or an organizer or a player. You can always pull someone in. When we're in, I'll say even the Worlds at Augusta, people are going to be spread out all over in Augusta or at the Nick Hyde or insert almost any event there, with the exception of like a Maple Hill where so many people remain on site and then hang out and do extracurricular nightly things. It's really tough to pull in those people on a regular basis. So that's where something like the GBO is a great thing to have. What happened at the end of the last wrap up? Did someone knock over the camera? No. We just closed things down. Actually, the camera battery, I put in a brand new battery, and I did not think that overall thing would go 2.5 hours, and it ended up going a full 2.5 hours. Wow. We had a ton of different guests. I know there was an issue with the audio and video ultimately getting out of sync, and that had something to do, dare I say, it was the first and only time all week I had an issue with the stream strength, which was coming in from the Brickyard 20, and their internet was phenomenal almost all other times throughout the week. It just got a little dicey on that Saturday night, and there's obviously, again, only so much I could do with it.
Edward asks, for those of the people that have not been to the GBO, can you rattle off some of the extras? I mean, obviously you were at the Bourbon Cowboy, right?
Yep, the Bourbon Cowboy, which is a local establishment, beer and live music.
That's where they had the bull riding.
That's where it was a one night thing where they had the bull riding brought in, which also had a college party graduation type thing going on that particular night.
Okay.
And then they have mini golf, and that's usually there every week, all week. So you could come in there at any point and play 9 holes of mini golf. That's
there was at one point someone walked up and like, is this hole 5 or something?
You're on our tee. I had to move one of the tees and pins on the first night to set up on stage where I did.
Nice.
So, which is not something you normally have to do. Brickyard 20 Ale House, that was ultimately the host that allowed us to do the Skip Ace Fantasy.
The Pick'em.
The Pick'em League.
And that's always usually the end of, that's almost where everyone goes at the end of the week as well, after the...
Yeah, and they have they have a putting league throughout the year that takes place commonly at that bar as well. So if you're in Emporia, it's just a huge bar. They have 3 or 4 different sections. They're remodeling. The owner told me, just wait till next year, we'll have food. And I probably said something like, well, get me a Philly cheesesteak and we're good. So the Brickyard is a really great place. Again, super supportive of what we're doing. There was free bowling at Flint Hills Lanes, and I think that happened on Monday night before I even got there, but it was totally free open bowling for disc golfers, so that took place on Monday night.
They usually do a movie night?
There used to be a free movie night. I don't know that happened this year.
I know that last year it wasn't as well attended. I mean, that's more for your juniors and your family, people that aren't going to go to a bar or maybe even for bowling or anything like that. They do the bonfire. The huge Swedish bonfire. There's
a 3-year activity, or it's in its 3rd year this year, where it's a Swedish bonfire. They have pallets and pallets loaded up, and it's a Swedish tradition, somewhat as the winter transfers or moves into being spring to signify the cold and everything else. It's just kind of their way to really welcome spring. And so that's a tradition. There was I think a Swedish national anthem and some other things that were done all prior to that. And then before that, there was I believe it was a trilogy, dynamic disc, West Side and Latitude only kind of like team dinner thing that they did. So that was taking place out at the warehouse. Earlier in the week, you could stamp your own disc from your players pack, which is something cool they do. They had the live Q&A panel, which took place at the Granada, which we broadcast live. There's just...
And as we say, every place you go has like a sign that says "Welcome Disc Golfers," and every place you stop in, they say, "Hey, thanks for coming. How you doing?" how'd you shoot, where things like that.
Yeah,
So
did you have a good round? Radius all week. We can. I feel bad we just now are mentioning it, but Radius Brewery did a collaboration beer with Nate and Val again. The Slight Headwind, which is obviously a funny play on the weather there usually. The Slight Headwind was released, and they bottled it this year. So in catching up with Nate and Val later in the week, they literally were the only ones doing it. I think it was after the round Thursday or Friday. It was Nate, Val's mom and dad, Leroy and Sharon Jenkins, and the four of them were pouring. Nate was pouring, and then they had their own assembly line going, and it was the four of them doing beer and filling bottles of beer, 22-ounce bottles of beer. So pretty crazy. Do we lose everybody?
No, I don't think so. I think my browser crashed. For a
So
second.
they were pouring the beer and bottling it. It has been sold out, and I brought a little back. Submitted some over to Dana on my way through Chicago yesterday, and I have a few here locally that people were hounding me for. So we'll make up for that. So yeah, something going on every minute, and then there's an app that tells you what's going on. The block party on Saturday night, the huge fly mart. It's just yeah.
There's always something going on there.
And
great.
Emporia definitely has set up itself as a disc golf mecca. There's no doubt about that. Andrew Clayson asked about a 360 camera, which is something that Johnny V
Do you have it?
has worked with Bobby Brown, and you're going to see hopefully some integration more with at least playing with 360 cameras and options as we're kind of exploring into that, and we'll talk about that afterwards. But that is and could be a new addition that you may see here at SmashBox, but don't hold your breath just yet. Emporia knows how to treat disc golfers, and that, I would say, is an understatement. They're just amazing.
Disc Golf Nerd asks, are there any Smashy GBO discs left?
There are some. Again, only 50 were produced. A lot of people picked one up at the Fly Mart. I know I talked about the possibility on the Disc Golf Guys page a few days ago before the event, and some people had staked claims to those. I know Ronald Harkey and a few other Smashies private messaged me to make sure to set some aside. What I believe I have left include some judges, some defenders, judges, verdicts, and I may be out of truths. I have a few of those others. But if you want one, reach out to me. Again, only 50 total were produced. In fact, and I know one of them went to Jomez. We swapped out a disc.
Oh, cool.
We do that seemingly year after year. I got one of their beautiful Jomez production discs, and they got one of our Smashbox discs on a trade. So
Nice.
certainly reach out to us, Disc Golf Nerd, or anyone else that needs them. Find me on Facebook, and we can get those and a few other things out to you. Are you concerned with the juniors battling the weather next year at Junior Worlds? Watching Paul putt in the wind is concerning. Not as much, Marcus. That's, I guess, a good question. I'm assuming Junior Worlds will take place either in June, July, or August. There may be a heat concern, as always, with any Worlds in those time frame. But no, I'm not overall. They won't be at Olpe. We'll start there. I know they're not going to be playing that course. They'll be playing a number of other courses in town. Could there be high or extreme winds? Absolutely. I'm not too worried about it at the moment. But that could suck. I guess that's one way to put it. If they had a day of 40 and 50 mile an hour winds, and you got a bunch of 8 and 15 or 12-year-olds throwing around 130-gram plastic, it could make for a long day or a long round. But if anyone can handle it, I think it's the DD crew. So
I'm excited because I went from the beginning of the year thinking, I don't know if I'm going to play a disc golf event this year.
Now
I think I might play 2.
the Junior Worlds?
No, not at all.
Oh.
I'm a little old for that. They don't have a senior division for Junior Worlds. No, I think I'm going to play your GMO in 2 weeks.
Next weekend, yep.
Next weekend, yes.
May 13th. Sign up today.
And I believe there was one other event I was talking about playing. Mad City Open. I was talking about playing the actual Mad City Open. So I'm kind of excited that I might actually get to play some events, which means I need to probably throw some plastic. Because what month are we in? May?
May.
I don't know if I've thrown a piece of plastic this year. Literally thrown a disc. I don't. No, yeah, I did because I
You-
went out.
You went out with your
I
kid
went out,
once,
I
I
went with
think.
my kid for my turn for out at Valley View, so I have. So good. Whew. I'm
Yeah.
all warmed up then.
You are, definitely.
So I'm really excited, just because I do miss the tournament scene. Doing this kind of puts a little hamper on it at times, but yes, I'm excited. I want to actually play some golf.
Yeah, I would say, fair to say a massive hamper on being able to compete out there regularly. What's in my discs or what's in my bags is Race, Mongoose, Legacy Ghost. I'm sure you're going to see a probably a Truth in there at some point. Some old Ontario Rocks, KC AVRs. I'm going to continue to try and mix things up. Maybe a Discraft Comet's going to make it back in my bag, if my bag ever gets back to being a bag.
That's the other thing. I have my old bag in the garage. I should probably put some discs in it.
Eh.
I think right there, that's my bag right now.
It's gorgeous.
It's a plastic
bag.
bag that I emptied
Looks good.
my bag out into.
So no, my bag's not all Comets, but pretty much anything the pros throw. Where Paul at? Well, Wise Bud, you're just a few hours late. Paul joined us exactly 3 hours ago. So you'll be able to go back and watch once this gets archived. You'll be able to watch Paul McBeth, and then later his fiance Hannah Croak joined us and gave us plenty of information as well. So you can certainly go back and check that out. Erica Weir came up to me on Saturday night, Friday night.
Yeah.
Friday or Saturday night, and said, "Hey, thank you so much. During during our round at Jones East on Friday, we were at a backup and we cut over to hole 12 that was taking place at Jones West. And she was one of the handful of women we basically turned the cameras onto, and she threw one of the greatest shots we saw of the day. And we can show that to you right now. And Erica was incredibly grateful and thankful to us for showing it. Some of the women were a little bit nervous as we kind of turned the cameras, and then all of the players and then our cameras were all of a sudden all on them. There's a little congestion point on on hole 9 of Jones East and then hole 12 of Jones West. And Erica throws a gorgeous forehand, skips just short, and then skips up and hits the pole. Does it get any better than that?
That's the way. That's
Celebrity status.
That's an easy 2.
That's living in the moment and making sure you take advantage of it. She wrote on her Facebook today and tagged me. She said, "My awesome IT guru at work pulled the crisp footage from SmashBoxxTV. Thanks again to Terry and crew. It was a huge hashtag GBO moment 2017 for me." So, and it's funny because just due to the hole bug, as we call it, it shows hole 9 726 because we were on hole 9 of the other course, and all of a sudden we show her throwing, and then she throws a forehand and skips it up there and parks it. I don't know if anybody will. She could probably sell that to someone like, "Oh yeah, that was 726 feet." Maybe like someone that doesn't know disc golf as well,
or that doesn't know distances.
But that was awesome. So congrats to Erica. I think one of the cool experiences we saw Shay Nasty from Alaska out there. She's reaching into her bag as just after Erica throws. She's here from Alaska. I met her last year playing pro at Alaska, but she had Brian Schweberger on the bag. And as I talked to her, she's like, "He's here promoting Alaska Disc Golf King of the Hill tournament, this hilltop ski area."
Very cool.
And Schwebby asked to caddy for me, and she's like, "How often do you get someone as good as Schwebby to offer to caddy?" She's like, "Heck yeah, I took it."
Yeah.
So Shay Nasty got herself a little Schwebby caddy action. So very cool for her as well.
Firearm Disc Sports brings up a good point. She parked that hole, which says hole 9. Simon really parked hole 9, like
of the Jones East course.
The Jones East course, like. For those of you that
do you have that putt going in or no?
I don't think I
you
do.
Saved that one off.
Yeah, I didn't save that one off because I wasn't expecting the drive, and then the putt. I mean, the putt looks like nothing.
Did you see the drive coming in?
You kind of do.
Because it was just on the catch camera.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's an amazing shot.
I believe Central Coast released it as a separate clip.
Yep. I'll say this, unfortunately for Central Coast, and I don't think anyone expects it, their angle wasn't very good.
Because no one's expecting.
No one's expecting you to throw it 720 feet downhill. Like, oh my God! Like it is kind of ridiculous. I wonder if I can pull it up on the actual broadcast.
Good night, DGN. Dad's drunk wants to know how many layers is Terry wearing. I'm still cold from last night's Cubs game, but I am wearing an undershirt, and then I was going to wear my regular just blue shirt, and then I walked in and I already had a sweatshirt. This is become my favorite new semi-dressy, semi-professional shirt that you see me wearing a ton. It's like a sweatshirt.
Kind of got.
I love it.
Not a lot like it, but I've got a green one that I really enjoy.
Try to copy me.
That one. That was the second round, correct?
Second and final round.
Yeah. Well.
And last round, and the championship Friday round.
Oh wait.
Whatever the 27th hole of competition.
Talk a little bit about the awards that we were able. I mean, because we didn't plan on covering the awards at all.
No, not at least certainly not in this capacity. So yeah, I mean, when I woke on Saturday, I was informed, in fact, that the rounds had been officially canceled, and then I immediately, and maybe this sounds silly, but once I saw they were at 1 o'clock, I immediately thought, well, yeah, we're gonna go cover that then, because we knew people would be disappointed that golf wasn't on, and so rounded up our crew in the best way possible, and we got down to the Granada. And we covered the awards ceremony completely live. We hope that you enjoyed it. We covered the awards, and then immediately after that, went right into the putting finals, which had featured Ricky Wysocki and a number of other great players. So, yeah, we hope that you guys enjoyed it. And if you didn't, sorry, there's nothing else we could really do about it. But it was fun to be there. And inside the Granada is just a gorgeous place to be, and I feel like, again, they rolled with the punches as best as they possibly could. So, hope you guys enjoyed it. Johnny's looking into the possibility of trying to find what we could see for our broadcast. In fact, I've never seen what had taken place either on hole 9. I mean, I saw ultimately the putt, but that was it.
I know we showed the putt. I don't necessarily know if we saw the drive or not. But
my arm got tired as I was interviewing Robert and Robert and Paige Pierce there, as I was had an outstretched arm trying to get all the info.
And it might be that actually maybe we didn't even show it. Maybe I just happened to see it in our preview cam.
Stream.
So,
well, Paige right here talks about driving.
Yeah.
About I think she is here where she talks about.
Oh, this might actually be it, like right about here.
So we're trying to cue this up, see if we can show you guys what it is.
Yeah, this is actually perfect right here. So,
all right, we'll see if we can move over to this.
If I pull this over here, if I full screen this,
that is some clear picture.
I guess we can talk about that. So one of the other things that we had done this past weekend was, I bumped up on the second day. I actually bumped up the
signals a little bit.
The signals in order to
hopefully provide a clearer picture. Now, there's always a trade-off that, like anything, if you're trying to give a better picture quality, there's a better chance for lagging or delay or buffer or just kind of forcing everything to work a little bit harder. But due to the fact that we've had decent success at this park and pretty good signal, we were able to try and, we'll say, crank it up a little bit, and it looks like it's really paid off.
Yep. So here's Simon throwing.
Wow.
And again, we're not in position to show it. We were probably in about the same position that the disc golf, that Central Coast, but you could see it at the end down here land. So I'm going to rewind this again, and if you can actually see it hit the kind of the tree and fall straight down. It's an amazing shot.
And Paige and I are behind the tee, and we have no idea how amazing it is or where that even went. We couldn't even see it if we wanted to.
Yeah, and then I mean, you'll be able to see shortly how close he was, because I think we showed the putt. I don't recall offhand again even, but we might have been showing the AM women putt that out. So
yeah, Robert McCall talks about how great and how far that shot was. And then we'll see. We're cutting away to some other footage.
Yeah, these guys having problems getting up and down on this hole, because it's not an easy hole to even get up and down on, because it's a pretty small green. I think Kale went out of bounds there.
So all these people are struggling,
Yeah.
and Simon Lazat's shot is just sitting there waiting.
Kale misses his putt.
Oh, spoiler.
I know.
I didn't watch the Central Coast footage yet.
And this is how close Simon was. Like, I'm sorry, that is 726 feet. He drops in a 10-footer. Because he
to
was,
make his third eagle two
and-
of the round.
and he hit. I mean, I'll say this: he was a little fortunate in that he hit the tree to stop him right there. But just to get down there, even if he blows past that, he's still putting OB for birdie.
Yeah.
You know what? There's no negative to doing that.
I don't know if they were listening to all the on-site commentaries. You're fishing through that or no?
Yeah, they should have been. I need to fix something. Boom. There we
I
go.
think that looks good. Okay.
There we go. So.
All right. Well, hope that you guys enjoyed that. I didn't realize that we had it. Central Coast did exactly what they should have. They grabbed their onboard footage and then released that as a separate clip. Had I known we had it as well, that would have been a good idea. But
I
No,
didn't know how clear or what it was. I didn't even think about it at the
that's
time.
the first I had actually saw it myself.
Yeah.
But it looked really good. So
Yeah, that's wow. Yeah, it's amazing watching his shots and having 3 eagles in one round is
eagles of that caliber and again, EMAC may say it best, and he probably would. No one would know. I don't know if that hole's ever been two'd before, or the frequency of it, short of a massive throw in or an accidental throw in by someone. I bet you could look through a lot of scorecards throughout the last dozen years, or as long as that course has been in the ground, and that hole has possibly never been two'd, two'd before.
As Germ said, I think that could be one of the greatest shots he's ever seen on a particular hole. I mean, slightly downhill. Was lucky enough to catch the tree, but just to get it down there. I mean, he cuts a lot of it off. It's not a 700-foot throw. It probably throws about 550.
Sure.
But
no matter what it was.
I don't care what it is.
Firearm asked, that was your footage or CCDG? That was, in fact, our footage.
Yep.
That's what. So anytime we're at a delay or a backup of sorts, we obviously try to still have our cameramen in position. One of the ideas, just like you saw us do there and somewhat execute, is the cameraman that was at the throw with me, Gary to the O, we were trying to give some interviews, and I don't want to say just filler, but we were trying to get some interviews and insights as to what was going on while other cards moved down the fairway. And then our catch camera, Chad, was already down there and already in position, waiting for the next group, basically. So he was able to capture everything, and it was good on him to be, obviously, to still have the wherewithal to capture that. And Johnny was showing it in an additional screen. Again, things that all weren't possible to us even 2 years ago, and from where we've come and what we're doing now, hopefully it gets better and better. So.
Oh, for sure. And there's little add-ons for my little program here that we can do, and that I can actually have. I can record like multiple angles and stuff like that for each camera, but
yeah. So really glad that you guys enjoyed it. So thanks, and hopefully we'll continue to be able to bring you more of that stuff. It's a par 3, LOL. Maybe to Simon, but. That's incredible, because if you said to all 133 people or whatever it was in the pro field, would you be okay with taking a 3 on that hole? And every single competitor would be like, heck yeah, I'd take a 3 all day.
It's a birdie.
It's a birdie,
Why
and
not?
I'd walk away. A 3 is a perfectly good score there, and you could see nasty scores. There's multiple times you could go OB early
Off
over
the
the road,
drive.
off the drive. You could go OB on a second shot and not make it back inbounds at all, or have to take it basically from where you last threw from. It's not crazy to think, someone having a bad day or a
7.
bad hole could take a 7 or an 8. And we saw Zach Newhouse, who was playing really well. He had a few putting woes there, and he walked away with a 6.
Yep. I wasn't surprised to see Zach miss his first putt where he missed it. My jaw hit the floor on his comeback, which looked like it was no more than about 20 feet. He looked like he was 3 feet over the basket.
Yeah.
It's like just one of those, and I obviously have no clue what's going through his head, but it was like he didn't even think about it. Like there was no thought. It was just get up, and he threw so hard, and he threw it right over the basket.
Well, there was a headwind coming at him as well, which
Yeah.
which exaggerated the mistake that he had made. So, and Firearm Disc Sports says my buddy took a 9.
Yeah.
So,
And that's only 7 strokes worse than Simon. I don't know.
Likely, other than Simon, I don't know how often, if ever, we'll see another 2.
I'd be.
And if we do, it won't be with that ease.
No.
You know,
Somebody might throw one and skip one off the road.
Or a big germ or a McBeth or some monster arm gets, or an eagle gets down there, has a 30 or 40 footer. But the fact that he tapped that in was nothing short of amazing. So, yeah, and when you're a pro, you don't need to think about things that close. So,
I asked Jerm about that. Or he had some rough putting.
All right, guys, we're talking about less than 5 minutes here. If you got anything pressing, start feeding it into the board. Otherwise, we are going to be wrapping things up. It's been a long night, but a really good and fun night. We're so glad our near record crowd joining us. And, of course, we'll give a little bit of credit to Hannah, where that's all due. Hannah brings all the crowd.
I said Paul brings all the boys to the yard.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, if that's what you believe. Has there been anything out on the Reddits?
There hasn't.
Or any of the other disc golf chat boards where
no, not really.
Sometimes dumb stuff is said.
There's lots of dumb stuff said everywhere. No, I've looked over them all the past couple days. Lots of just GBO stuff right now.
All right, Jonathan, have a great night. Thank you for joining us.
The next event we're going to be at is the Utah Open.
Yes.
So there's that, and yeah, we're working on Worlds.
If you're interested in Worlds, this is super late, in the podcast, so who knows how and when it gets heard. But as we are about to test for Worlds in the next couple of weeks to ensure that signal is a possibility and that we can give you the best live coverage that's possible, if you have interest, your company, your club, your event later in the year, your new product that you're trying to get out, if you have interest in broadcasting or let me back that up, with advertising within our broadcast, please reach out to us. You're welcome to do so. We are interested in playing your commercials or other, maybe you have a series of commercials or information, whatever it might be. Let us know.
I'm working on the rate sheet right now for Worlds. Now that we've kind of have verified that we're going to attempt to cover it. Obviously, anything can happen. Terry's going down there, going to check signal on courses and whatnot. But I am working on the rate sheet. It'll be relatively similar to last year if you got one. But if not, reach out to us. We can get you one. We want everybody and anybody to advertise. I know last year it was they were in Emporia, and it was very GBO and very dynamic disc. Not GBO, sorry, very dynamic disc centric. We had some people that were a little hesitant. This year it's being run by the PDGA at the IDGC. I want to see every advertiser represented.
Anyone that wants to. And last year, just to be very clear, last year it was certainly open to any and all advertising. However, some people felt like, DD is going to seem to be overrepresented, so we're not going to bother advertising with you. Well, by you not bothering to advertise, it then became DD represented. Nice. So that was a product of I guess, having no challengers in that sense. So again, your company, your club, your organization, the new product or the new app that you might be coming out with, whatever, there's a number of different ways, and we have different naming, asset naming that can be branded, whether it's, scoreboards or replays and things like that. I think we're going to have the Slomez camera. No, okay, maybe we won't. I say we just steal theirs.
No, we're just going to steal the guy and the camera.
Exactly. But there's opportunities in that sense, too. So if you want to be really specific about your branding, maybe you could, in fact, sponsor the Twitter feed that comes in or whatever. There's going to be opportunities to be unique. Or if you get a commercial, you've seen the good commercials, you've seen the bad commercials, make a good commercial, and then we can run that. So.
Your commercial should either be good or really, really bad,
so it gets talked about.
So it gets talked about.
Yes, those are two good ways to do it. Sun King Disc, Mike Barnett says he's in for a $2,000 sponsorship.
Thank you, Sun King Disc.
What I read.
I think that's
okay.
That's what I read too.
We'd love to work with you, Mike Barnett. So We would, please. So that's where we're at, and we're excited to do so and look further into the World Championships, which is going to be really unique. And I'll say this, with it being 4 rounds, really just 4 rounds throughout the week, there's going to be a ton of eyeballs, and every round is going to be, I don't want to say any more crucial than before, because there used to be 6 or 7, but with 4 rounds, there should be a lot of people watching throughout that week.
Firearm Disc Sports asks, how long does the commercial have to be? And I would say don't make it more than 60 seconds, please. We prefer 30-second commercials, just because they're easier. 30 seconds are very easy to schedule because sometimes there's a very short distance between holes. So if you make it more than 30 seconds, there's a good chance we could cut it off. And the way hopefully we don't want to do that. So make it less, 30 seconds or less. 15-second commercials are okay as well if you just want like a quick blast, so to speak, but 30 seconds is a really good time to have. It's a pretty set standard.
Yeah, it certainly is. And again, depending on workflow and other things, there may be a way to work with after shows or nightly recaps that I'm going to probably be hosting. There's opportunities where things could get tied into that. There's going to be a number of different possibilities and opportunities out there. So, and Mark Barnett just says make it 4,000. Well, Mike, for that, we'll give you 4 days of representation on the show.
Just
all 4.
Right? Really?
And we'll talk about your company right now, so you're welcome, sunkingdisc.com. But also, we'll talk about you as a sponsor before the Worlds happens and probably after.
Sure. Make
that check to Terry Miller. Wise Bud has, what is that, 100,000 or $1 million?
Looks like $1 million.
Okay.
So
every tournament has less rounds now. Yeah, and no, there's no refunds if it gets cut down to 1 round.
Yeah, no. Worlds
becomes
4
1 round.
Worlds is 4 rounds this year. It's not a secret. The schedule, the draft of the schedule is out there right now. I don't know how much it's going to change. It might change a little bit depending on we might have some input and participation and
our
things
signal
like that. So.
and some technology may play into it as well, which could be really interesting. So, and Carver, I couldn't agree with you more. I will say this all the way through Worlds and contest whoever wins. I don't feel like 4 rounds is enough for Worlds. I know we have other majors that are 3 or 4 rounds. I get that. I understand. Too. I know we're moving into less rounds. I also love, though, that Worlds has been a little bit of a marathon, and some say that's the exact thing they're getting away from, and that's fine. I like that our world champion is tested over a long amount of rounds, 5, 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, whatever it's been. I like that.
I'd like to see either 4 in a cut to do a 5th round or 5 in a cut to do a 6th round. I'd like to see the event cut down to, because I believe right now there's like 130 open players. I'd like to see that cut down to like 54. And then those 54, you go out and play. So, and then that, I'm fine not doing a final 9, a showcase 9. I'm good with all of that. But have I'd like to see a cut, and I'd like to see a little more than 4 rounds. It's my personal opinion.
I wish it were more than 4, and whether that's 5 or 6 or 5.5 or 6.5, 7, whatever. I feel like more than 4 would have been great, but 1 round of 72 holes, that would be very entertaining, depending on the course.
It's a true marathon.
True marathon. All right, guys, we're gonna call it. It has been an amazing night. All around. We appreciate all the love, the support, pre-GBO, at the GBO, post-GBO. We love thanking all of the GBO staff, Doug Bjerkes and Jeremy Rusko, Dynamic Disc, and their amazing staff there, Robert McCall, Gary to the O on one of our cameras, along with Chad Inman on another camera. For Johnny V, working the controls, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been GBO 2017 in and out. We'll see you guys next week right here for our live weekly Disc Golf podcast. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the video credits. If you're interested in being listed as a producer on SmashBoxx TV's podcast, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.